Welcome back, everybody. We are one match down on the day, and the NYXL have claimed victory over the Florida Mayhem with a 4-0 victory. The boys in blue with the clean sweep. And you know what? I do want to give a big shout out to Saya player. That was some amazing Widowmaker play on Route 66. And I'm going to be looking forward to seeing a lot more of that as the stage progresses on. Up next, we have the Philadelphia Fusion going up against the Boston Uprising. Now, if you guys remember, it was just a couple weeks ago, the Philadelphia Fusion were here in this arena, sitting in the stands, holding up signs, cheering the Boston Uprising on because the Uprising controlled their destiny to get into the Stage 2 playoffs. But now they're opponents again, and the Philadelphia Fusion became one map short of being the stage champion, so you know they got redemption on their mind. And as far as the Boston Uprising goes, they've looked good ever since they've gotten Gamsu back in the lineup. So this is gonna be a highly competitive match. It is seriously anyone's game. You guys ready for this one? All right, well, I'm ready to see how this thing pans out, so let's go ahead and get this show on the road.
All right, thank you so much, Malik. We are just getting started here in the day. This is a major matchup. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett here at the desk. We've got Sideshow, we've got Reinforce, and we've got some, well, a lot to talk about here getting into this first match. You got the number 4 seeded Philadelphia Fusion facing off against the number 6 overall Boston Uprising. If we were doing the playoffs tomorrow, both teams would be in it. They're in the top 6 right now. But I feel like one of these teams has a lot more pressure on their shoulders. That's, of course, the Philadelphia Fusion, because this squad went all the way to the grand finals against the New York XL in Stage 2. They squeezed into the playoffs, and they caught everyone off guard.
And they even managed to beat the London Spitfire, which surprised everyone. Everyone at the desk, everyone got the prediction wrong, of course. And it wasn't a huge surprise, maybe, that they got beaten by New York later. But I think overall this team surprised everyone going into Stage 2 because they just improved their skill massively and their playstyles overall. We saw them swap from Dive more into Widowmaker with Carpe, stopped in Snillo, and Snillo just out of nowhere had like star player performances.
You know, he's still unbeaten. Snillo has not lost a map in the Overwatch League. How crazy is that? That's absolutely unbelievable level of performance from this guy.
You know, they should have subbed in him Game 5.
Yeah, in Game 5, that was the issue.
Snilla was a monster, but Philadelphia, they lost their 2-0 lead. It was New York who stole the crown away from them. And one of the big players in that championship run was EQO. Today, Philly is playing without EQO, and to tell us all about the situation, we have Zoe on the floor.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah, indeed, EQO will not be playing with the Fusion today. The reason being a misconduct on his side, for which he will receive the following punishment. His streaming rights have been revoked until June the 17th. He will be suspended for 3 games and fined $2,000 US. But, yeah, I know, but that is not all. Because of that, he himself decided to donate $3,000 to the Anti-Defamation League's No Place for Hate campaign, to which then the Fusion responded with not just matching his donation, but also donating his fine plus the fine, so like matching the fine plus the donation, which leads to an overall donation of $10,000 US, which the Fusion will be donating to this campaign. So please put your hands together for that. What a great example is being set there by the Philadelphia Fusion and EQO. Really big thumbs up for that. Now, of course, I talked to their team about the lack of EQO for 3 games now, and they said, you know what, Zoe? We have so much talent in our lineup with Shadowburn and Snillo. We have options. We make it work. Let's take that as a promise from the Fusion. Back to you guys on the desk.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Zoe. And once again, big shout out to the Philadelphia front office. But let's talk about this. You got Snillo, you've got Shadowburn, but you got some tough maps for you today.
Yeah, but I mean, EQO, he was one of the most instrumental players, to me anyway, to why Philadelphia Fusion got to the playoffs in the first place. So I think this is a pretty big hit anyway. You can bring out Snillo on the Tracer, Shadowburn on its more passive Genji, but still, it's going to be a tough blow, so it's going to be hard for them to face up against Boston here on the new maps.
Yeah, and the maps are the biggest issue for me because they start out on Volskaya here, and you can see the difference. Ooh. Boston Uprising are unbeaten on both of the assault maps that we are currently playing within the stage, Volskaya and Anubis. Whereas Philadelphia Fusion, I would say this is their worst map. They're 1-4 on it. It started their downhill spiral in the Stage 2 finals against the NYXL. Blizzard World, who knows what's going to happen there? Absolutely unknown quantity. And then Ilios as well. Boston Uprising have only ever lost this once. So it's really tough to get through the first 3 quarters of this match for the Philadelphia Fusion.
Johnny, you look at these numbers, Boston's got the edge in almost every category, especially that Game 5 if it goes the distance. But talk to me about the play styles. These are two teams we're becoming very familiar with. We've seen them match up twice now. How do the play styles compare?
Well, we have to add into the addition the Sombra, of course. Who will play the Sombra? I would have expected maybe EQO to play it for the side of Philadelphia Fusion. We saw Dante, of course. We saw 5 of 6 teams yesterday play the Sombra, so it just tells you it's a pretty big stat.
There's a
People
new
like
meta on the horizon.
Exactly. And so who is going to play this Sombra for the Philadelphia Fusion? Do you put Carpe on the Sombra? I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, for the Boston Uprising, I think we might see some more Mercy coming out. Mistakes has played the Sombra, so I think this meta might actually suit Boston Uprising a bit more. They have been good in the past so far this season, but maybe this is the stage where they can actually contest for the stage playoffs, like we've seen Gladiators and Philadelphia.
Does the better Sombra win this series? Is she that strong?
She is that strong, so it could be a possibility, yeah.
Another thing to look forward to is that Tracer battle, Striker versus Carpe. The match is just moments away. Are you guys ready? Make some noise, Blizzard Arena. We gotta wake this crowd up and get to the games. It's Philly versus Boston.
So it's going to be Boston, though, waiting for an opportunity.
Philadelphia Fusion making excellent progress. Oh, knocked off by Gamsu. Carpe going for the cheeky stick. Whoa, nice pick from Dream, though.
Brave resurrection from Kellex.
Impressively done. It's really just going Philadelphia's way. It's going to get more difficult. Striker with the style points. And sure enough, he's going for it. Philadelphia keep their hopes alive.
Please give a warm welcome to the team from Philadelphia. It's your Fusion. Fraggy trying to get the boys pumped up. Our runners-up from stage 2 coming out. And what is this at the back?
What? What is this? What?
There he is! The one and only! The Swedish Rocky!
They told him he needed to step up his walkout game.
Those conversations at In and Out. Yes! If that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what will.
He's pumped up, warmed up.
He's a little,
ready to go.
He's a little star for this team. As I said, he's unbeaten for the Philadelphia Fusion. He's not lost a map yet. They only run him in specific situations. Perhaps with EQR out of the lineup, they'll start seeing more and more success.
This is a pretty specific situation.
And I hope the mics are picking up this knockoff Rocky music. It's amazing stuff. Let's take a look at the full roster. We got Carpe on DPS alongside Snilla. Who gets to play Tracer today?
It's going to be Snillo, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think Carpe is the more versatile of the 2 players. So it is going to be Carpe, perhaps leading the charge when it comes to the versatility of the team overall.
And I would say that Snillo works better with Fraggy overall. We saw when they were playing against London Spitfire, that combo of Fraggy and Snillo was decimating the backline of the London Spitfire. I think they work really well as a duo, and that's part of the reason why Snillo's having so much success.
And just look at the team morale. Everyone's smiling, everyone's happy. All teams should have marching bands.
I agree, marching bands. It's the wave of the future here in esports. Okay, that is a look at the starting lineup for the Philadelphia Fusion. All smiles, but will they get the win? They're gonna have to fight through a very tough squad from Boston. Let's hear it for the Uprising. Boston feeling the love here in the venue, but also everyone at PAX East tuning in and cheering them on today. Kellex, the support player, leading the charge onto the main stage.
And he might actually play out some more Mercy today, and that might play into Boston Uprising's favor. They were great throughout stage 1, I'd like to say, much due to the Mercy play. And moving into perhaps Blizzard World today, we'll see more Mercy play. So as I said, this meta might actually suit Boston Uprising a little bit better.
As we touched on, Boston currently the number 6 seed overall, but Valiant right behind them, just one match loss behind them in the leaderboard. How much pressure is on these guys today?
There's a lot. We're in the second half of the season now. This is the time to go hard or go home. And for Boston Uprising, they will be wanting to end at least in the top 6. And like you were saying, Johnny, this team has the potential to go really far in Stage 3. They got all the pieces, all of the intangibles today point towards Boston Uprising. New meta, great maps for them. But historically, they haven't quite been performing as well as Philadelphia Fusion. We'll have to see what happens.
Dream Casper not looking very ferocious with those punches, but look out for him in-game. Gamsu also MVP candidate for the season so far. That is a look at the Boston Uprising. Guys, real quick, where you going? You going Philly or Boston, Johnny?
I'm actually going with Philly of this. Despite their map problems, they have shown us repeatedly they're so good on the stage.
Sideshow?
I'm definitely going with Boston, at least for the first map. We'll see how it happens.
Let's see how this one plays out. Your casters for the battle. It's Uber with Mr. X.
I'm feeling it, boys. Let's go. What a way to kick this one off, Matt. And a very important match indeed. These two teams really aren't too far apart. I'm Mitch Leslie, by the way. This is Matthew Morello.
Hey, how's it going?
He's the only one we really need to know about. So coming into this one, the record definitely favors Boston on a lot of these maps. I mean, Volskaya and Ilios, very good for them. So do the Fusion have a lost series before they can get to that Route 66 in the end?
You don't know with how the meta has changed, and especially with Blizzard World in this map pool and in this series, right? We just don't know enough about the Blizzard World performance out of both of these teams. But Volskaya, obviously a very good map for the Boston Uprising. You know, Volskaya and Anubis, undefeated on both of those maps in Stage 1 and Stage 2, respectively, are the Boston Uprising. So, you know, there are some very good maps in this map pool for Boston, and they've been a team, Mitch, that's been so close to the stage playoffs in both of our first 2 stages. If you think there's a stage they can get it done, it would probably be this one.
I mean, again, the Uprising had a fantastic close to Stage 2.
Their
Matt.
start was poor.
Yeah, it wasn't great. The last 4 games, they beat Dallas 4-0, they beat the Valiant, they beat the Shock, and then they beat the Gladiator. So they pretty much just went straight through California, you know, wrecking people. So they improved drastically. Unfortunately, still didn't get themselves with a spot in the playoffs, but they did spoil the Gladiators one. So, I mean, this is a team now that was starting to increase in momentum at the end of Stage 2, but what's changed now? Like, now with Sombra being such an integral part of you know, the meta, we know we saw Mistakes play a fair bit of that for Boston previously.
Right, so you probably think, considering we've only really seen Striker play Tracer 76, a little bit of Widowmaker, you think he would, you know, still play that Tracer role, and if you're going to have Sombra, Dreamcasper is going to have to play it. When they played it as a support, it was Neko who played a little bit of it, but we saw Mistakes play the Sombra primarily on Hollywood in Stage 2 for the Uprising.
It will be the Boston Uprising to begin on defense here, and as far as their composition goes, we see nothing is really out of the ordinary. Now, the Philadelphia Fusion, this map was a big stumbling block for them against New York in the Stage 2 finals map. They tried to play the Widowmaker there with EQO. He was shut down by Libero. This is where things really went downhill for them. They must improve on that.
And when they had Snillo in towards the end of those games, I mean, you could see that win streak. Like, they were playing quite well with Snillo on the Tracer, and then that opens up Carpe to show a little bit more of his hero pool. You know, we always talk about Carpe as, you know, a Tracer player primarily, but I mean, he has a fantastic Hanzo, his Widowmaker is great. I'm sure he can pick up the Sombra as well.
Oh, well, it is Philadelphia and Boston football fans. Name a better duo. Oh, wait. So Carpe goes for a very conservative peak. Now, as he's waiting, they are sort of leapt upon by Striker at the beginning. So this is at least going to keep Philadelphia watching their flanks and maybe get them, I guess, motivate them to sort of come forward. But Carpe needs a pick before they really do anything here. At this time, Snillo's trying to get a pick on that high ground and hasn't found anything yet. Fraggy's out, though.
Yes, it was Snillo and Fraggy on that flank, and if Fraggy gets weak and he's actually trying to make it all the way back to his supports, gets cut down before he's able to, he'll get res, but they lose Boombox at the hands of Dreamcaster. So you lose the Zen, you lose one of those supports, you have to back up here. You know, it would be really bad if one of these players drops here at the gate before Boombox even gets back in.
They really need to get all 6 players in position. So for the Philadelphia Fusion, it might be a wrap around the left side eventually, because they're trying to threaten Casper, who's giving them so many problems. Neptuno's already been felled. It's Dream Casper again, watching the door quite nicely. And the DC on Poco again, it's going to mean Philadelphia have to wait and set up. We saw very similar problems for the Shanghai Dragons yesterday against the Fuel, losing or bleeding players as they try and make progress onto point A, means they have to wait for reinforcements.
Well, so it's going to be Carpe who takes that Neko, but this will get res right back up, right? So you do have Poco go back, he'll switch, he'll go back to Diva. So you're still waiting to get a full team push here for Philadelphia. And the dangerous part about this, Mitch, right, is you get stalled out for so long that you sometimes feel like you have to invest some ultimates into these fights that you probably don't really need to. You want these fights to go in and force some ultimates out on the side of Boston. You end up using some of your own. It doesn't work out. It's going to be Valkyrie for both teams.
Yeah, just as you mentioned, ults, they're coming out. Dreamcast's actually forced out of the sightline by Poco getting in his face. That's creating space for Carpe right now, who'll have a better view of the battlefield and be able to try and shut down some of these Boston players. There it is. He gets Gamsu as a result. Dreamcast finally springs back into action, but by the time he's done so, Carpe's already gotten 2 kills. Great setup there with Poco, shutting down Casper, and now the Fusion will snowball this fight to their advantage in time, but they are taking a very slow approach to the point because Striker is still at large.
Yeah, and Gamsu is using Primal Rage. He is not done yet. It'll be Dreamcaster who gets chased all the way into the back by Fraggy, who falls, but should be Philadelphia. Taking this point, it looks like Boston going to back all the way out. That is a fight that they absolutely needed to take because they invested pretty much all of their ultimates at that time into it. That's what I was alluding to, right? If you lose that fight, for argument's sake, if you're Philadelphia, then you're stuck with nothing and about 1:18 to go. That time, you're really like kind of staring down the barrel of just like one fight that's a legitimate fight that could go your way.
Because the Fusion had to use some of those ultimates to even get point A, it means they can't snowball directly into finishing the map here. They're going to have to accrue some more of that ultimate percentage. Carpe's going to have to be looking for picks. Snillo needs to get that pulse bomb and try and drop it into the back line, just like that. Perfect. Gamsu's down, main tank's missing for the Boston Uprising, and Note's pretty low on HP as well.
Oh, they lose Boombox, though. Boombox does fall at the hands of a Pulse Bomb as Dreamcaster in the back as well. This is what Boston did so good, this dive composition, but Carpe in Philadelphia not going away here. Mitch, he's just trying to line these shots up on a Striker. Such an insanely difficult angle to snipe from.
Yeah, Carpe can't reposition more forward there to try and deal with the rest of the Uprising when Striker's at large over the main point. You can see Striker not respecting the fact that both main tanks were, shadowing Carpe, still trying to look for the pick-off. So Snillo's Pulse Bomb went in and it worked out. He actually managed to pick off Kellex as he was getting a Resurrect there. But because Striker and the rest of the Boston Uprising players still played forward and didn't collapse, the Fusion have to wait.
This will be a Transcendence from Philadelphia, just keeping everybody up. They use Valkyrie here as well, so both support ults used at the same time. Now the Transcendence comes in from Boston, so they're going to have a lot of healing, keeping everybody up. Neptuno should be able to get this res off onto Fraggy. It may not mean anything, though, as Dreamcaster gets the Dragon Blade. Both support ults had been used by Philadelphia at that time, so he's able to cut through 2 members. That'll stop the push from Philly.
Some of Dreamcasper's sickest Genji plays have come from this map and playing on defense, actually. But 1 slash and 2 kills is more than enough for him to be happy with now. Carpe switching to the Genji.
So this is something we don't see too often. Usually you see Carpe play, whether it's Tracer, Widowmaker, McCree. This time we'll play Genji, and I know something we don't see often, but his Genji is quite good. When we have seen it in the past, not really much in Overwatch League. Can't really remember him playing in this, but back to something like Contenders where you saw him play it. Maybe if they ran like Pharah on Shadowburn, you do see him play some Genji time to time.
All right, Dreamcasper again, just trying to get up into the back line. Boombox is a little out of position here. He goes, he gets himself the Mega, but he's in deep trouble now. There's a Primal Age Winston keeping him inside the room. Good work by Neptuno to keep Boombox nice and healthy, but now Dreamcasper's going to rock up and just make life a lot harder, reflecting those orbs back. Still, Boombox can get the Resurrect because the positioning of the Philadelphia Fusion wasn't so advanced that Neptuno would be interrupted during a Resurrect. That's a good sign, but another Dragon Blade could be an ill omen here for the Uprising. And yeah, Fraggy chases Casper down to finish him off. The rest of the Fusion playing around the point. Carpe's missing.
Yeah, but the Fusion are going to be in some trouble here because Note's going to use that self-destruct, clear some players out. You get a big res from Kellex on Neko. So if you did need it there, Boston would have had Transcendence and you would have had Dreamcaster with a blade coming off the spawn. They don't need to invest either of those ultimates. And I did like the switch from Carpe over to Genji as opposed to something like a McCree or whatnot because with the composition they had, there was no way they were going to force out some of those support ultimates, right? You don't have something like a Tactical Visor or a Dragon Blade that forces a Transcendence out or forces a use of Valkyrie, right? They only had that Pulse Bomb. So at that point, you're putting a lot of pressure on Snillo to make something happen. Now you have this Dragon Blade at your disposal if you're Philadelphia. That could force Neko to use the Transcendence. You get one of those support ults out, then you bring in your own Transcendence. You're able to just get all that extra healing and win that next fight.
Philadelphia set up on the left-hand side here. Snillo has a Pulse Bomb and he's made his way into the back line, but Striker's done exactly the same. He gets the stick on Carpe. There'll be no Dragon Blade in this fight. Neptuno, having switched off of the Mercy to the Lucio, can't get the Resurrect, so it's a 4-man roster now for the Fusion as Fraggy is cut down. And Snillo realizes a quick recall, a double dash, and he's out of there. Casper will try and pursue. Very cheeky tech there from Neptuno to stay alive, but Boombox had to just throw himself off the edge.
Is Dream Casper now with another blade here? For the Boston Uprising, you still have that Transcendence. They've allowed Calyx to build up to another Valkyrie, you know, with that pulse bomb from Striker, allowing them to win that fight. The big stick is on to Carpe too, right? I mean, he has the Dragon Blade, no mercy anymore, can't go back and res him, so that fight is pretty much a wash at that point, because I think the play there is that speed boost around that left-hand side, then use the Transcendence, get onto the point, and then have Carpe, he can go up on the high ground to really do some damage on the support with that blade.
Try and force Neko's Transcendence. Snillo has a pulse bomb, so that might be the play here. Good poke early on. You saw that Casper and Nodes now are getting chunked down pretty heavily. Fraggy gets himself into a position at least to tickle the backline, but he's getting a little bit low. Had the primal rage though, no worries there. Dream Casper spots Boombox across the map and realizes Carpe stands in between him and his intended target. He'll have to wait, but he gets left upon. Fraggy kept tabs on Dream Casper the whole time and came back for him.
Yeah, Neptuno is actually able to take out Striker. We see a lot of teams just leaving their Lucios to win those one-on-one against Tracers. Neptuno's able to get the better of Striker there, protect Boombox as well. It's going to be Dragon Blade that comes through. Sound Barrier as well for the Philadelphia Fusion. Doesn't keep a lot of them alive though. Dream Casper cuts through too.
It may be enough. There's two players for the Fusion on the point right now, and Striker's trying to challenge Snillo. Dream Casper's also had to drop back. You can see Neko very low on HP, and Gamsu gets stuck inside that room. No bother to him though. Primal Rage gives him 1,000 HP, and he can now step forward. Finds Snillo with the fists. Poco gets the resuit just in time, but his mech is pretty much 0 HP as soon as he gets in it. That's not what he paid for. Neptuno being down now. Almost 2 ticks here for the Philadelphia Fusion, but it looks like they're going to run out of steam here. Boombox now can only stall out. And it's a pittance really up against how quickly that bar is decaying. That's going to be the round. The Fusion will have to settle with 63% of capture progress on point B.
Yeah, I was going to say, they do get the 63%. Pretty solid there on point B. I think they're the one push they were trying to go for, I'll go back to it again, is the one where Striker hits Carpe with a pulse bomb. They're trying to go around that left-hand side and get to that high ground, because imagine, you know, Fraggy like diving in up on the high ground onto those supports. You get like 2 or 3 of them in that close area, right? Because Calyx is going to stick on Neko, try and heal him through it. You know, Neko's obviously going to put the damage down on Fraggy in those close quarters. You use a blade there in that close area, one dash through both of those players probably takes out both supports if Neko doesn't time that ultimate perfectly. So you're trying to set up a play where you can just kind of pin both supports up on that high ground. You're just not able to make it happen. It's Striker who comes through with a big pulse bomb.
Well, it's pretty clear to see that the Fusion kind of don't want to stand in the front door and just dive, or they don't want to stand on that little platform just towards the front of that last compound and dive. They want to... I feel like both of these two teams are actually kind of guys who'd like to take the quickest route between A and B, as it were, and try and get onto the back line while taking as little amount of poke damage on the way as possible.
Well, I also feel it's a little bit of, you know, you see the same thing in scrims and in matches all the time, like just a push straight through the front with a high ground on the top right side. Teams get really good at defending that, you know, and their timings are really good on when to dive those situations. You just throw a different look at them, right? Come from a different angle. You know, it forces everybody in the opposing team to react, and what you're trying to get there is to somebody to react in a way that the teammates don't really expect, and then they throws everything off, and you can make something happen. So I did what like Philadelphia was trying to do there, attack from some different angles.
The issue with that is that you're quite susceptible to losing one player or getting picked off because you're playing an attempt, you're trying to flank a team that is just going to flank you. They're just going to wrap around. If a defending Tracer sees you go the left side, he'll go the long way around with a pulse bomb.
But I think that's where you trust Neptuno on the Lucio role as, you know, one of the better offensive main supports in that like Mercy Lucio role, dealing with that Tracer in the backline. You're kind of comfortable with that situation if you're Philly.
Yeah, again, Striker though, dismantled that attempt for the Fusion multiple times. And now it's time for Boston to attack again. Both of these teams are known for being very aggressive. They trade in subtlety and nuance for raw killing power a lot of the time. You can see that Casper there had a defense matrix from Note put in front of him just to sort of slant that Widow duel in his favor and make it so he couldn't be hurt. But he didn't find the shot. The Boston Uprising is still going to move on the point. Almost a one click though. Striker bearing down on Carpe and he's found, and the Widowmaker for Philadelphia is missing now. That extra defensive punch is out. But Neptuno quickly gets the Resurrect in. The Boombox falls in the meantime though. And the Fusion of bleeding players.
Yeah, and Gamsu pushes into the building with the Mega Health Pack, and he forces Carpe up to the high ground. That'll give Dream Casper some easy shots at him. He needs to take him, but it doesn't even look likely, Mitch. This point should go over to Boston with relative ease.
I mean, you can see Fraggy just trying to buy time there. He was down to 30% HP, and he had a Discord orb on him, but he knew that if he put his bubble down correctly, he would have been able to sort of juke in and out of it and gets enough time for a respawn on the side of the Fusion, but nah, they're way too far away. And the Boston Uprising start off well. Again, even if the kill you get gets resurrected, it still means that that Mercy is occupied with rezzing the player for a couple seconds and not pocketing another.
Well, she's just not healing anybody. And
that's why Boombox died.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult predicament to be put in. Dreamcast will use the Infrasight. Carpe switches over to Sombra, so that Infrasight is huge here at the beginning. They're going to have a great idea where Carpe is, not going to be able to sneak up on any of these supports.
Good opening for Boombox, though. Getting rid of Dreamcast was going to relieve some of that pressure. Kellex doesn't look like he's looking for the Resurrect on him at all. No, I think they're done with that one, especially now that Gamsu having fallen. Striker trying to get out, he should be fine. So what we see here now, we see the McCree for Dreamcast, but now you're going to get Dove as Boston. You should expect that to happen. It's Philadelphia you're playing against. Is this anti-Sombra tech for Carpe?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. It's anti-Sombra and anti-Tracer. I mean,
Sombra and Tracer with McCree, yeah.
Two flankers so hard to deal with. And I think the scary part is that if Dreamcaster gets hacked, he is dead. Yeah. Dead. Instantly, whether it's going to be to Carpe or to Snillo. And I mean, you see Carpe pushing forward. Two enemies hacked. He hacked Poco in the last fight, coming through, hacking another one this fight.
That kill by Carpe on Kellex, that's a lot harder for the older Sombra to do. And your spread now at sort of medium to long range is decreased significantly, so you can actually get damage and charge up that EMP while standing a very safe distance away, especially from enemy tanks.
And even before, I mean, she had like range that was almost like 76, like a little bit less than a 76's range,
just
whatnot.
Just spotty damage reg.
Yeah, but now I mean, it kind of puts her in a way different position. Here's what's difficult: you're so cautious. You're looking around for Carpe on Summer. Snillow's just sitting in here 1-2. You can't really do much of anything against this.
Snillo now just to chase onto Meko, or Neko, should I say. Couldn't tell the difference with my accent anyway. I could have gotten away with it.
Nobody really understands you.
No. So obviously they're tough for Neko. He's got to deal with a tank in his face and Snillo up behind. Philadelphia playing a little bit more forward. Snillo knows that he can buy his team a good 40 seconds or more just sticking a pulse bomb on a Dreamcast. Just really ruining the Cowboys' day. And Boston want to try and get at least to the gates and set up here. The 5 ultimates are key. Philadelphia have a lot too. The EMP is just going to basically turn all Boston Uprising's ultimates into wasted button presses, and no one likes that. It's a lot of APM, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, EMP is so powerful as an ultimate ability. I mean, we don't see it as much now, right? Because a lot of Sombra's ult charge over towards damage, none really over towards the healing side anymore. So see how much value Carpe gets out of this EMP. Sees both tanks in front of him, so you don't need the EMP right there. You can just hack Note and he can't do anything.
Gets stunned up. Carpe has to translocate out very quickly. Note's mech did get removed by Snillow's pulse bomb. Interesting to commit that to a Diva mech that's not really working, but the hack would have worn off. Now Fraggy, this is quite dangerous actually. Very close to the edge of the Boston Uprising, and Fraggy can knock them around. A lot of ultimates drawn out of the fusion there, Matt. Snillow's, Fraggy's, Poco's, I dare say, and Neptuno's.
You still have EMP though. EMP kind of like trumps everything in this standpoint, right? I mean, Neko could use the Transcendence. You almost need that Transcendence to just have everybody survive the EMP.
Right.
Especially when you run like a dive comp, right? Because you want Gamsu and Note to get into the backline, same with Striker. If they go there and they need healing and they get EMP, they lose all movement abilities. They can't get out. So you're forcing your supports to go on in. It's a really risky situation.
Carpe cheeky off to the side. Oh, he gets burst down though. Gamsu was there. I'm pretty sure a bit of damage from Dreamcast helped. I mean, this was the window where there'd be no EMP available for Philadelphia, but Boston don't have the players to exacerbate it.
They had lost Kellex before that even happened. So you lose Kellex and then you take out Carpe. You can't really push in without that Mercy. Just not enough healing with the Zen, unless you wanted to use Transcendence there, but probably would have been a waste.
No. Carpe, I mean, here's a question for Boston. Do you try and bait out a Sombra in your backline and sort of set Dreamcasper up where you can get an easy flash? Is that the win condition, removing the Sombra?
You try and set that up, and he just translocates out. So
well, you need to hit that first headshot.
And then you waste the flashbang, and then Snillo is using 2 blinks, getting right next to you, and just blowing you up.
Here's Shades of Philly then, going around the left-hand side. This is what the Fusion tried to do in that previous attacking round. Get closer to the backline, gain access to the more all-important targets.
That is so sick, though. Carpe spots Striker just flanking on the other side. hacks him, jumps right on top of him with Fraggy. Now you lose your Tracer.
Hacking a Tracer, it's like turns you into a Sombra without a translocator. That's pretty nasty. Okay, Fraggy drops in briefly. Just getting a bit of a view of the situation. The boss and Uprising are basically being corralled together in these back rooms, and the Fusion are more than happy. Look at all the damage. The cleave is there for Fraggy. Micro rockets, everything's going to be nasty. Neko does do well at repelling the Simian Intruder. And no deals with Boombox, so they're on the point. Carpe now holding onto that EMP. No need to use it yet, and Kellex is down in the background. Neptuno is free to swoop in, save the day, and bring back Boombox.
And remember how we used to talk about Sombra, you know, like when it was really like Sombra against Lucio, right? Like sound barrier, EMP, didn't want it to fully get
Try and
baited.
ult before you get EMP.
Yeah, so Philadelphia had switched to this Sombra as soon as Boston unlocked this point beat with about 5 minutes to go. Carpe is still not used this EMP. This is the first EMP he's had, so he's still just going on hacking people. He's got 10 hacks this far. Just holding on to this EMP, and there's both support ults that come out from Boston just because they're trying to make some action, trying to actually get to the point, make a competitive fight.
That's the EMP, so now you have Gamps who's pretty useless, can't use those abilities. Striker's trying to pressure a little bit more. He wasn't hacked, so he does have those recalls. Although Carpe might look to change that in just a moment. Self-destruct dropped down out in front. Quite the delivery that the Boston Uprising were hoping for. The Fusion really up being pressured here. Fraggy is going to put them now between a rock and a hard place. He's going to try and knock him inside the Foundry. Will jump out with about half of his HP left. And that's a very definitive push from the Fusion. But there's a very small window where the Uprising can pressure without an EMP available. Here's the Deadeye from Dream Casper in the opening. He doesn't connect it. He has to cancel.
It'll be a self-destruct that comes through, but Neko is built up towards another Transcendence rather quickly. Kellex also towards Valkyrie too here. They may get these support ults, it would be huge.
This could be the map right here. Boston Uprising struggled so much, but now they're starting to build up ahead of steam. They got it! Just one good push. Wait for the EMP to not be available. Make hay while the sun shines. And how about that? Boston Uprising take away a very interesting first map. A map where they kind of looked to be losing until they won.
Yeah, I mean, both teams, one elimination, one kill separates both of these teams. You know, 45 for Boston, 44 for Philadelphia. As close as a game one could go, but Boston still undefeated on Belsky.
Yeah, that's right. The record stays pristine. The Sombra for Fusion, not enough to get them over the line. This is going to be a great series. Let's hang out and see map 2 in just a second.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Boston with the 4-0.
It's kind of left Philadelphia Fusion back to the drawing board, trying to figure out where are we?
Not all the pieces quite there yet.
It's stage 2. New lineup coming in for Philadelphia. Philadelphia, sick lineup. They're getting better.
I mean, greatness. That's what I'm expecting from the Fusion.
They need to get this pick, and he gets him. And a nice headshot, and it's a party now.
Somehow, Philly has turned this in their favor.
They're gonna make this a series. No! The Philadelphia Fusion reverse sweep the Houston Outlaws.
It is playoff time.
We have the Philadelphia Fusion going up against the London Spitfire.
Oh, we're going pure fragging right now. It's a great start for Philly, but as profit falls, there goes OT, and Philadelphia Fusion will take a lead. Carpe has come to play today. Oh, Snillo going crazy now. That's going to be it, Philly did it. Philly in the semifinals will take it. Absolutely crazy.
A truly climactic end to Philadelphia Fusion Stage 2, falling just short of the title. An incredible match against New York, of course, but now Stage 3. Different story and a different opponent awaits them on the other side of the stage. First map, Boston Uprising here.
Not too surprising though, with Boston's record on Volskaya, also like Anubis, the other assault map in the pool. Next map will be Blizzard World, so a new entry into the map pool. Did not see it in Stage 1, did not see it in Stage 2. Obviously done. Pretty new to competitive play as well. I think it's going to take some time for teams to figure out how to play this.
Absolutely. It's a curious map. I think there's a lot in here. It's very busy. There's a lot of features, it's very fun, I guess, if you're...
I love the design of it.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of like a lot of these franchises that are being referred to, then you're going to dig this. But that second, well, even the first stage, we have verticality. We have a lot of sort of windy corridors and paths and sort of kind of off-angle ways of entering, to these points. The first point you have to still deal with the big choke, but this is an interesting stage here. You have obviously the causeways that cross over the top, so you can drop down, you can get behind the enemies pretty easily. Good perch spots for Widowmakers. Obviously, D.Va can get around pretty comfortably. And then the last stage as well is, we got a bit more of the verticality. We've got the pits, environmental kill potential is there.
The area of the map that teams will struggle is from point A to point B. You're going to see a lot of holds in that area of the map. Where that defensive team spawns, where that second checkpoint is. It's going to be very difficult for the offensive team to keep that rolling on through. It's not like a Nabani where, for argument's sake, right, you take point A, you pretty much expect to take point B, just kind of like storm right on through. So it's going to play much different. I think at the beginning of the map on the defensive end, you're going to see Boston just go pretty much straight up dive. They're going to get aggressive. There's a high ground area where the defense can set up right above the point or a little bit, initially by that first choke. I think you can see some Junkrat come back here. Just two.
Yeah, on that first point, I mean, look,
yeah.
you exploit. This is a massive choke here on this first point for attackers to break through. So as you watch this map, as we start to get acclimatized to this one, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be much easier to see what's going on with like sort of a zoom through like this. You will get used to seeing some of those random corridors and stuff to try and keep you up with that one. We're all learning together basically, but let's start it off. Philadelphia Fusion attacking here on Blizzard World. Let's see how they get through this choke. There's no Junkrat on the Uprising, of course. It is the dive.
And what I liked what NYXL did with that Junkrat is when you know that there's going to be a Sombra on the offensive side, just a spam of Junkrat, right? Most likely going to hit the Sombra at some point, or a mine if she gets close, right? Take away that invisibility. It's going to be Carpe getting control of the Mega Health Pack, so you'll be able to just keep farming that up, not going to get ult charge from it. But you see, they've just put Boston in a weird spot where Boston now has to fight on the point.
Yeah, you can see that the Fusion have managed to get to the point by using the corridors on that left side without actually sort of giving any line of sight opportunity. So Boston don't feel confident diving into what, they don't really know what kind of setup's going to be waiting for him. So now we have a bit of an all-in-all fight out in the open. Carpe has to quickly eject, but Striker was ready. He must have seen the translocator, knowing Carpe would appear there. So the Boston Uprising, happy enough, sort of just re-establishing their positioning and then starting a dive over on the point. No progress for the Fusion on the capture.
Yeah, it's interesting what it looked like Boston did there. I mean, take a look at the replay from Striker, but Philly comes all the way around on this left side through those corridors, like you mentioned,
nice.
And that kind of set Boston up to be able to dive and force players into those short alleyways.
Now you can see the high ground being controlled by Neko and Kellex. So if you want to deal with this, then you kind of have to dive that, which obviously makes
far.
Yeah, which makes you kind of susceptible to the people on the ground. And obviously, Casper, Gamsu, Note can all follow up on that. Kellex can just pocket Neko. So it's a bit dangerous to try and dive upon that. But again, same approach here. But Casper's got himself in behind, looking for a bit of a quick kill on Boobox, but that health pack was hacked, and it does still respawn quicker. There's the Transcendence. Casper definitely won't go for the blade now. And we'll see the Fusion try and break out after that happened. Neko lucky to be alive there, almost got knocked off the map in Transcendence. Here's the Dragon Blade though.
Yeah, they use the Dragon Blade with their own Transcendence and gets booped up to the top, doesn't get the benefits, and Boombox will take Dreamcast round. Neko will fall. As now Philadelphia is starting to get rolling. Mitchell looks like they'll be able to unlock point A. You see Striker fall, and Note will fall as well. Now comes the real test. Getting from point A to point B and completing it.
Right, it's a long stretch and there's a lot of places where defenders can drop on you from. So here's how that fight went down. You can see the sound barrier was there. Snillo gets a perfect stick on Neko. The second he comes out of Transcendence, he noticed that the enemy Zenyatta was trying to reposition for, to try and stay alive after his vulnerability expired. So slap it straight on. The traces have been a very important part of this map so far.
Yeah, and I think you'll see, though, as this goes on, teams develop different strategies. Boston there didn't really use any of that good high ground on the defensive end to their advantage.
Just Neko set up in the back.
That dive, right? Just put the supports up there that Zenyatta in a position. You see Carpe trying to go for a hack on Kelix, gets broken up, will use the EMP though. That EMP should secure that first fight. It's going to be 3 players connected with it.
Yeah, and then after the hack, he goes for after the EMP, he goes for a manual hack on towards Kelix, really just to make sure that he doesn't have that flexibility or freedom to get around the battlefield. So Fraggy's going to wait here, and that will just prevent Boston from establishing high ground positioning very quickly. Now there's only one way they can come from, and that's what Snillo's watching.
Yeah, and to cap this point B, you got to get it past that gate, right? That's going to be where Boston's going to spawn. So you look at where the payload is right now. Usually on a map like this, you would say, one more fight and they're good. This is going to be at least 2 more fights if Philly's going to be able to take point B.
But there you go, though. The Uprising do a good job of sticking together there. They actually didn't dive at all in that setup. They had no drop onto the payload, contest it, and the rest of them were sitting up here in this high ground. Having Casper there, protected by Gamsu, which is not common when there's a dive occurring. Usually Boston's one starting it up. Worked well for them, and now they can sort of disperse along this causeway.
Well, now they're going to use that high ground. There's so many areas on this high ground that it's not like on a Volskaya, right? Where if there's going to be a McCree sitting on the high ground, you know exactly where he's going to be. He can be so many different places here.
He can obscure himself, or vision of himself, as he changes position. So it's so hard to keep tabs on him without putting yourself in harm's way if you're like a Winston or a Dino.
Or if you're a flanker, you have to get close through those side rooms and get close to the McCree. Puts you in a very difficult position, potentially to get flashbang and then just hit with a headshot.
So you can see now the payload slowly grinding forward. Eventually the Uprising will elect to come and stop it. So Fraggy's down, and that's to Striker while Snillo was sort of AWOL, just getting information. So losing that player and not being set up to get a quick 1-for-1 trade means the Fusion just pull out and wait for Fraggy to return. Really getting ground to a halt. You can see the Boston have also been able to accrue all of their ultimates.
Yeah, I think the next fight, maybe the next 2 fights for Philadelphia are going to be about getting some of these ultimates out from the Boston Uprising. I think if you allow them to, hold on to 3-4 of these going into that final fight, so to speak, it's going to be very difficult for Philly to move this.
No pulse bomb happiness for Striker. That one went straight to feed Poco when Carpe's picked him up now. That EMP might be the deal breaker or maker in this next fight. Dream Casper, the down from high. This could be pretty scary, but Poco was there with the defense matrix to eat those shots up. And in the meantime, Note was removed, not just his mech, but also himself. Now, the Uprising have to step back. Mind you, spawns come in right about here for defenders, so they can sort of regroup very quickly.
But it couldn't have gone any better there for Philadelphia. They didn't have to use either of their support ults. They held on to EMP as well. And Boston ended up using ultimates in that fight. Now Boston only has this Transcendence. They do have a self-destruct, but that big Zenyatta ultimate could get negated or maybe not even used to get that EMP off in time. They don't. There's going to be Neko with that Transcendence.
Yeah, EMP. Will this be enough to turn things in their favor? Because they're missing Boombox and his associated Transcendence. Snillo has to pull the pin early on that little dive forward. Recall had to be used as he taken a lot of damage from Neko as he approached. No, that's going to be it for the Fusion. They're going to have to back out.
Yeah, they lose Fraggy. If Fraggy's able to stay alive there, use Primal Rage, maybe move on through. And the other way of thinking here is no need to rush this. 30 seconds left. You have both of your support ults on the table here to use.
And you see Poco tried to use the moment that Note was still resuiting to try and pick him off before he could get back in the mech. That one moment of vulnerability. Couldn't quite exploit it though. And now up to the high ground goes Fraggy. So Gamsu's there. He's going to drop back. You see Dream Casper now is on payload duty. Transcendence now to Philadelphia Fusion. Going to get aggressive and come forward all the way into the second stage. Casper's just ripped to shreds. And now Fraggy has a bone to pick with the rest of the Boston Uprising, keeping Gamsu away, zoning the big tanks. That's very important now. Note gets desuited. The extra damage Fraggy provided was perfect. Sound barrier from Neptuno also assisted the Fusion, keeping his fight going, and that should pretty much be it. Over time, they just need to get a little bit further, and they got it. You can see how close the uprising spawn, and that's bad for Casper as he kind of gets caught out.
Yeah, and now they're going to be able to continue to move the payload. Something I don't expect a ton of teams to be able to do. It's going to be such a difficult point to take. But now as we go into the final stage, like you mentioned, a ton of verticality here, a lot of these close, tight alleyways near that big pit. Could be dangerous. Maybe we see some Orisa come out here on the defensive side.
Kind of feels like the last stage of Route 66 where Reinhardt or Orisa would be used.
I feel like a little bit like in a polish, right? With all the environmental things you can do there.
I feel it. So the Fusion are being fairly conservative. They're not really overcommitting to this one, but hoping to try and push Boston back and gain very small advantages, take real estate very slowly. It's a very expansionist approach. And that's the EMP. That one really hurts. Neko got caught out by that one, and Kellex couldn't do a damn thing. Both supports are down. So is Dream Casper. Striker avoiding getting hacked. I think he was able to recall out of that one, but still, no, it's all over the edge for the Uprising, and they can regroup for one last attempt to hold this. 25 seconds left, and the Philadelphia Fusion are hurtling towards that last checkpoint.
Yeah, and that's an EMP that Carpe had held onto when they were taking point B. You needed the EMP there, because if they come out with some ultimates, you needed that EMP to take point B. Now you had it here to push the payload, maybe to the distance. It'll be great.
Cheeky!
Using his Deadeye, he'll get hit with a pulse round from Snillo.
More than Dream Casper bargained for, that's for sure. Transcendence in for Boombox now, and Note's trying to sit on the point. There's going to be one from Neko now as well. Two eyes in one storm. Now Fraggy going with a Primal Rage, maybe just trying to make that healing from Neko less effective, but the Transcendence has expired. Fraggy found Kellex there with a Flailing Fist of Fury. The Primal Rage really having a lethal edge to it when Fraggy is behind the pilot's seat. Poco down though, Snillo forced to recall, keeping overtime going, but he's sorely outnumbered. Dream Casper just needs to wait for another flash, but no, he gets landed on by Fraggy. What a great save! EMP in the back line, perfect stuff from Carpe. He saves the day, and the Fusion grind it out. You love to see it.
Man, what an EMP there at the end. Carpe and Snillo able to stay alive. Fraggy there as well. Philadelphia able to clutch up.
Johnny, we got him on the desk. Let's get your thoughts on this one, bro, because obviously this is the first time we're seeing, Blizzard World being played out a whole lot. You can help Sideshow as well. What are we seeing here? What are the trends that are starting to emerge?
Well, Sombra is the meta, right? So we're seeing a lot of Sombra, but because the corners are so close on Blizzard World, we see a lot of high impact heroes. So McCree, Junkrat, and Sombra, of course, because they have so much burst damage, right? So you want to get the picks to win the fights. So a lot less spam, I'd say, and a lot more burst damage.
Yeah, I agree. I think you see all those those damage heroes like your McCrees, your Junkrats, come out on this map because those one-shot kill potentials like Johnny's mentioning, right? And the Sombra as well. Sombra we're going to see on every map here, not just Blizzard World. But I think you're going to see a lot of those heroes come out, at least at the beginning, because it's a lot easier to secure those fight wins, right? When you have whether it's a McCree, just
get
like
yourself
a
a man advantage very quickly. It's all. Exactly. I mean, that's why Roadhog was such a coveted pick, in the past, because he would give you that ability to have that 6v5 scenario. We talked about it before. Ult advantage is great in Overwatch, right? You need to manage your ult economy. But having an extra player, that's even better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think after ultimate economy and managing, your ultimates in a way where you're going to consistently, always have, an ultimate or two more than the opposing team. I think having, those one-shot, kill potential heroes, whether it's McCree, whether it's Widowmaker, in a different type of meta, with some different maps in the pool, maybe somebody like a Doomfist, right? Anybody who can give you an advantage, with just their normal abilities that can just eliminate one player from the other team with relative ease, it's going to be huge. And I think at the beginning, you're going to see a lot of those heroes on Blizzard World.
Thanks, big shout out to Reinforce there for providing some insight. Looks like he's starting to get into your wardrobe and steal your stuff, though, man. I don't know what that's about. But now it's going to be the Boston Uprising on the attacking side. And who would have thought it's going to be the Genji Tracer die?
Johnny's smart from taking out of my wardrobe. Yeah.
Okay. He's got the right role models in life, man.
He does. He's doing it right.
Note so basically the entirety of the Boston Uprising are grouped up except for Striker, who's playing a loose end over on the right side. He'll try and flank around. Note's trying to watch his own backline. The Fusion don't want to give the Uprising a chance to set up though, and Note's desperately trying to turn his attention to dealing with these flankers, but it's too late.
When he tries to go in on the flankers here, you see Striker, the person who comes back to help them is actually Carpe. Uses the translocator to get back to his supports, and then all it takes is, because Striker's so focused on getting either Boombox or Neptuno, Carpe uses the translocator, gets back. Striker's not really planning for that. Gets a hack on him, can't go anywhere.
He can't recall.
Can't go anywhere.
It's like you have to recall as soon as you hear an enemy tracer starting to channel that ability on you. So, I mean, Sombra's great as appealing DPS in that regard. He completely gut the ability of enemy divers to get out scot-free after they attempt to get an assassination.
Yeah, and the update on the hack just has so many different uses. Right here, they get a hack on a node at the beginning. That forces Boston to back out a little bit, but Fraggy goes a bit too far, gets taken out. This could be a huge window of opportunity for Boston.
So now Philadelphia Fusion have to play as if they were the attacking team. They've set up in that Snacks Ramus room. I love it. And now they have to go together and dive upon the point to try and retake this. Feeling like attackers. Good pulse bomb to start things off there. Neko's out of the picture. He was getting close to farming up a Transcendence, and you heard the EMP go off there. Note was hacked up completely. That really affected him, but Kellex was still able to use his Valkyrie to get airborne, and he's brought Neko back into the fight. Can Boombox rescue things? I doubt it.
Yeah, in the position that Carpe was in, with the use of that EMP, maybe he actually switches off of it. It's going to be a hack that goes on a Dreamcasper. Neko's going to use his Transcendence. Oh, it's going to be Boombox with the
Okay, I stand corrected.
Them up. Yeah, so I mean, they're going to try and fight this Philly all the way to the end. There's a hack on a Gamsu, so he can't use his Primal Rage. You know, for a second there, I was like, okay, this is going to be Neko using that Transcendence. Like, I wouldn't expect Philly to invest so heavily into that fight because they only had both supports there. You had Carpe and Snillo still alive. They had no tanks there on the point. Boston had Gamsu there with Primal Rage, Dreamcast there with a Blade, but they're able to use that Transcendence, stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, again, Neko got resurrected and died immediately without getting his Transcendence off. He has it now, at least, which is something. So the Fusion were able to hold tall. Boombox, he's had a sick last couple minutes, man. This has been fantastic. Picks off Dreamcasper to start the fight. Again, Fraggy dies first. Shades of old Philadelphia perhaps starting to bubble to the surface here, but it's a 5v5. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, Poco can peel.
Fraggy dived in, actually break up that res and gets taken out while he's doing it. So unfortunate there for Fraggy. It'll be Carpe using the EMP. It'll be Poco using a self-destruct on the point.
Yeah, so Neko clearly not affected by EMP. He's able to get that important Transcendence off, and they've got the point there. So that's the thing, when you're down one tank, you're the only tank left from Poco has to sort of circle back and peel. Neko, I'm watching you, son, behave.
Tactical crouch.
And then you have no presence on the point as the defending team because your one tank is peeling for your back.
And right there for Philadelphia, you know, Fraggy was coming in with Primal Rage. They probably thought he was going to be the one that got on the point and contested it, just there a second too late. So you use Primal Rage, you really got nothing for it. As Boston took the point. They didn't even have to use Dreamcaster's Dragon Blade. You still have it. I'm just wondering how you use Dragon Blade up in this, you know, vertical area of the map, because there's so many areas that the opposing team can go to get away from this.
And now we can see the Fusion just trying to hold a bit more of a forward defense. Again, they kind of give up the high ground after diving, and ooh, it doesn't work out well. How does one dive the divers? That's the real question.
Yeah, I mean, you see Fraggy go in, he gets picked off again first. In these next few fights, I think you really need to see Fraggy not be the first one that dies. It's something we saw kind of plague them during stage 1, where he was always that first person dead.
How much does Sombra change if you can blow up a translocator, by the way?
I mean, that would be much different. A lot like how you can blow up like a Widowmaker.
Yeah, I mean, why not? There you go. Make me a game dip.
Yeah, sometimes you have some decent ideas. Most of the time. Well, most of the time we don't understand.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's okay. It's a joke that only I get. Laugh like a crazy person. Here's the Transcendence now. Neko gets his one off second, and he gets a more effective use of that one as Boston are grouped up and towards those side rooms. And this whole time that we've been going back and forth, this payload has made significant progress without any kills actually happening. These two teams just like an arm wrestle across the map, but guess who's the cleanup crew? The best janitor you can ever ask for, even better than the one in Scrubs. Don't at me, nerds. It's Dreamcasper. Nicely done. Good cleanup. And Boston make it, even though that spawn is super close and weird, kind of annoying, they still break through it. Yeah, it made it look easy.
I mean, they get through, you know, point A to point B in only 2 fights there, pretty much. They still have the Dreamcaster Dragon Blade to use as well, as you know, Neptuno holds onto his sound barrier. He dies with a few players had already died on Philadelphia. Didn't have a reason to really use it there. It'll be Carpe using his EMP. He gets taken out instantly, though, by Striker. Doesn't matter, though. He's got his teammates there to pick up the rest of these kills.
Nothing feels better than being able to follow up a good EMP. Dreamcasper's still here, and again, landing some big shurikens. He knows Neptuno is able to kill him there. Pulls out the reflect, doesn't want to have any of it.
The payload's still moving here, though, for Boston, as Gamsu uses Primal Rage. Node had to use the self-destruct. onto the cart and just keep it going. And now you have Carpe switch over to McCree. So we don't really see Carpe play too much. 76 at this point of the map. With the dive coming through, you want that flashbang, that one-shot potential, a lot like Johnny was talking about.
Yeah, Snillo was actually a 76 player on 1-2-3 before he switched to playing Tracer. He mistakes, kind of swap roles. Gamsu down though, Carpe's found him. That McCree working out. Dreamcast got another blade. You know what that means? Very, very sorry backline for the Fusion. It feels like the Fusion have just been getting dragged backwards this entire time. This relentless onslaught from the Boston Uprising has been too hard for them to bear. But Striker gets picked off by Snillo. That might be a release on the pressure valve, but as a self-destruct is thrown in to create some space for the Fusion.
Yeah, and the Fusion also use a sound barrier there, as they think the push is coming around the corner there from Boston. Boston has a window of opportunity here with Mitch with Dragon Blade and no support ultimates up for Philadelphia. What does that mean? Carpe needs to go big. Needs either land this flashbang onto Dreamcaster or maybe, use that Deadeye as soon as he uses the Dragon Blade, force him behind the walls, wait it out.
Now also, just forcing the enemy Genji to use his reflect cuts about half of the duration off the Dragon Blade unless he cancels it with a dash.
Well, usually you would say, Deadeye, if you kind of play all the way in the back, but there's so many angles that Dreamcaster can attack from, right? He can use that lower walkway to get all the way behind, basically to the Philadelphia spawn if he wanted.
It's a self-destruct, thrown right into the spawn, the Uprising. Carpe, oh no, it's not gonna happen, the reflect is there! Oh, the respect! Maybe could have used a little bit more from Carpe, then Casper drops it over the top and gives Snillo a little bit of a tattoo on his forehead. That should be close, and it's it! Boston Uprising, sometimes all you need is the enemy McCree to give you some free kills. And the difference between these two right now is that Boston Uprising have time left in their bank. The Fusion get an extra minute though now because they were under one. Let's hear a little bit now of Boston's comms though towards the end of that round.
A lot to me, I'm low. Yeah. Come. Even the bomb. Lucio. Summer low. Baby one. 3 points. Summer right side. Summer cut. Oh, Zen close. Point. Monkey.
And you hear the Boston communication there as they're able to take point B. And I'm sitting here, during that, I'm pointing at some of the stats here to Mitch, and the one that kind of caught my eye is that Dreamcaster actually never used that Dragon Blade throughout their entire push all the way through. I believe he plays Genji the entire offensive go, and no Dragon Blade kills, 0 Dragon Blade efficiently. He never actually used it.
I kind of feel like, though, that there wasn't, after that first point was taken, there wasn't any, big 6-on-6, everyone throw your ults into the mix fight. It seemed just like Philadelphia was getting picked off a lot and trying to sort of reinforce, and they'd spawn back in, they'd lose a player. They were always a player behind, and they had to give up the payload and allow it to push forward.
Yeah, I mean, going towards that last part of the map, when you thought they would have used the blade when there was no support ults on the other side, they didn't even need it, right? I mean, I think he's probably holding it at that point in case players come out of the spawn and they're able to, and they get on the cart, right? And he's got to cut through them quick.
Casper killed both DPS players in the Fusion within 2 seconds of each other, and then it was over, essentially. So the Fusion now have a chance to attack with that 1 minute of time that they had remaining. So every little tick counts here. We'll see how they attempt to make this one happen. So Snillo's flanking around the side, but Striker knows Snillo is flanking on the left of your screen and is following him. See? He knows he's there, so now Snillo's a little bit out of position. It's going to take him a while to get back, and this is good. It gives a local man advantage to the Boston Uprising, like a 6v5 in this little area for now until Snillo returns.
Yeah, just pressuring him out, because now Snillo has to wonder, am I still being chased? Can I go back in? Is it safe? Now Snillo gets back into the fight here for Philadelphia, as Philadelphia gets onto the point, getting very close to getting a tick. They don't get one yet.
We'll see now. It's going to be the Fusion are trying to set up for a pick here. Poco's a little bit low on HP. Dreamcasper gets himself topped up. And now we'll see what happens with the contest on the point. Yeah, the Fusion, no surprise they're playing from that left side building. Gamsu dives in, Poco got DC'd, although that surely has to be the opening. If the margins are so slim here, that's all it takes. Boombox is trying to salvage the situation, coming forward with the Transcenders. Neko died with his. Kellex has to resurrect the Zenyatta here for Boston, or things could get really ugly. No, Kellex is down. No resurrect. Gamsu gets blown to smithereens, and Sarkis just trying to hang on there behind the hay bales. And no, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle here. Good pulse bomb from Snillo to clean up, and that's at least one tick here for the Fusion. I think they'll get more, Matt.
Oh, they're going to get the point. They're going to take this point. They will unlock point A. They will get the payload. And Carpe with a hack on a Neko. I know Fisher after their game last night against the Shock. He was like, Dante, please stop hacking me. I'm sure Neko's thinking the same thing. He's on the point. No, they play it right. Now they use Valkyrie, keep everybody up. You're building the Dragon Blade. You have Transcendence. They have to fight on the point. You're amassing these ultimates. Carpe hacks Neko. Everything goes out the window then.
So Boston can lead in with a Dragon Blade followed up by a Transcendence here and probably have a good success rate or a chance of success. Neko just needs to be in position to use that as effectively as possible, especially now with Snello's recall being forced early in the fight. Now Striker knows he can go for someone else. Doesn't get the pulse bomb on Fraggy though, a little bit concerning. Overtime though is still in process, so the Fusion can't really lead the payload, which is annoying. Oh, Gamsu, he got hacked during his primal rage. He couldn't jump around. The mobility was denied from him. Now though, as it expires, he does leap forward. Carpe's down though. No Sombra for the Fusion. He was 96% to his next EMP. Casper, first time he's used a blade all game, and he gets Neptuno.
This may be it, as this be a self-destruct from Note onto the payload. Snillo still here with Poco. Poco not in mech though.
They're gonna struggle here. That will be it.
Yeah, Snillo trying to stay alive. Not able to do it there towards the end. A lot of progress made though by Philadelphia there. They were able to take point A. Obviously not a lot of time to do so, and then they moved it a little bit down the street there. It's gonna be pretty difficult here, I think, for Boston to be able to do that. I think all you have to do for Philadelphia is probably play that Sombra again. I mean, it's been so disruptive. So Carpe has right now 21 enemies EMP'd, 39 enemies hacked. So he's got, 18 actual hacks off during this game, which just think about how frustrating it is to just have players on the other team lose their abilities 18 times during the course of the game, just from hacks.
Rather serendipitous, really, that Snello walks up with the Rocky outfit on, because this matchup to me really makes me feel like that. Like both these two teams are taking shots at each other, going for haymakers, really just quite confident, testing their mettle by having a very similar approach to each other and just jumping on top. So now it really comes down to timings. It comes to coordination, comes to when those ultimates come out. Can Neko survive with his Transcendence? All the little things here.
Yeah, and Snillo is going up against Striker, right? One of the better tracers we've had throughout Stage 1 and Stage 2.
Snillo's killing it, man.
And this matchup is nutty. I mean, Snillo right now, 40 limbs, 23 final blows, only 3 deaths. And you have Striker on the other side, 30 limbs, 15 final blows, 10 deaths. So, I mean, they're playing each other head-to-head. I mean, Snillo's getting the better of them right now.
Snillo has almost as many final blows as Casper and Striker put together. However, we have had an extra round played for the Fusion on attack, and that may skew the stats. We'll get back to it after. But the Boston Uprising actually have more time in their bank to do this than the Fusion had. And they're going to be coming with that dive composition. So very much the same setup here. And you can see that I like this from the Fusion. They're trying to set up on that Snacks Rammus side, on the right side, to deny that away from the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, which is usually, the side at least we've seen through the first 2 games.
Where the attackers come from.
Like to go to on the attack. So just making Boston maybe play from an uncomfortable side. It also gives Carpe a lot more angles as Sombra to be able to go on the flank, right? You can go all the way around up onto the high ground by the trolley. They're able to get Kelix first. That's huge. You lose your Mercy, no more res. Kelix getting close to Valkyrie as well, not going to have it.
Yeah, this is really clever. The Fusion are forcing the Boston Uprising to either fight them on that left side in close quarters or play out in the open, where it's much harder to protect Kelix and Neko. I love this. It's a great adaptation. Instead of putting a Zenyatta right at the back out in the open. Yeah, I love this. You see Carpe now where he's playing is where the Fusion have mostly been setting up. The Uprising want to play from there. They want to get in there, but they just can't. Especially now Snillo has a pulse from. They're just going to get blown the heck up.
It just makes it very difficult for Boston. Obviously a new map in the pool. You I feel like with a new map, something like this, you find something that works, you just kind of beat it to death until somebody stops it. Now they've taken the position from them, so now it's trying to figure out how to play out of this other side.
We're in the red zone now. Time is ticking. It's 17 seconds left on the clock, and the Uprising are emerging from the far side of the point. They're flanked hard on the left. And Carpe is going to be looking for a little bit more ultimate charge before he pulls the trigger. Oh, Striker, he got hacked and jumped on. Oh, that's so nasty. He's blown up straight away. Snillo finishes the job, and now the EMP just to punctuate the point. A big old period put on the sentence. The Philadelphia Fusion is saying, we're far from done. Blizzard World is ours. Casper will drop onto the point briefly, try and get a Dragon Blade. There's a self-destruct, though. He's just going to get demolecularized. That's a word. Overtime's done. And the Fusion will take Blizzard World. That was a pretty interesting Overwatch to examine.
Oh yeah, I mean, Carpe was huge on Sombra, able to get off those hacks numerous times. 44 enemies hacked, 24 of them via the EMP. But Snillo, 49 limbs, 27 final blows. obviously benefiting from a lot of those players on the side of Boston not having those abilities.
You know, Snello's been in the gym on the speedball, on the punching bag. You know what? Saw that dance when he got up there. Sometimes a marching band just really helps your performance. That being said, halftime is just around the corner. We got half of this great series still to come. Stick around. This is the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League. And by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. So far, this one's living up to all the expectations. It's been tight, and so far, it's tied up 1 apiece. Philadelphia Fusion bouncing back after some awesome Sombra play from Carpe. And that's where we're going to start the conversation here at the halftime show. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett alongside the boys once again. We got Sideshow and Reinforce. And I feel like here in week 1 of stage 3, all we're going to say is Sombra, 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 because she's having major impacts on the game.
Keep it up. We got 4 more weeks to go, yeah?
You can count. Yeah.
I had to count. It took some time. It's been a long day so far. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. But yes, it is Sombra, really. I mean, it has been the hero we've seen so far. That has been the more dominant hero, I'd like to say. And especially Carpe has been playing the Sombra the most out of everyone so far. And it's been working kind of well on Blizzard World, but on Volskaya, not so much.
I mean, I would say individually, Carpe has been a pretty good Sombra. The extra damage that she can now put out, the fact that you get hacks all the time, Carpe is pretty sneaky with her. This has been a deadly duo, Carpe and Snello. The problem is that Boston Uprising are just so good on Volskaya, and then when they came into the Blizzard World, Philadelphia Fusion, just both teams looked a little shaky in how they were approaching things.
We see the Sombra coming out for Philadelphia, and that was the question for us. You don't have EQO in the lineup today. Snillo's going to be playing in his place. What is Carpe going to be running? Well, Sombra seemed to be the answer. You talked about the struggles, though, in Volskaya. Let's go back to this map here and talk about what was happening on the other side of things. While you have Philly trying to run Carpe on the Widow and the Sombra, Boston Uprising seem to be sticking with their tried and true heroes.
Yeah, Boston Uprising do not care that a patch change has happened. They are playing the exact same stuff as they were before. And why not? It works really well for them. Dream Casper on either the Widowmaker when they play this kind of slightly more pokey style, a little more passive, or when they just play the all-out dive. Boston Uprising can play it, and they are so damn methodical. That is what's fantastic about them. That's why they're unbeaten on both of the assault maps that we've got in this stage. They take the fights, they know when to use their ultimates, they have a plan. It's excellent.
Yes, and also I think that we have to give some props to Kellex because he's playing the Mercy. You have to remember, if Lucio gets hacked, right, he loses all of his aura and all of his speed and healing capabilities, right? So Kellex back on the Mercy has been a huge boon for the Boston Uprising thus far.
Keeping the supports up. All right, so you walk away with the victory on Volskaya. As you mentioned, Boston always impressive in map 1.
Yeah.
But now we're going into map number 2, and I thought this was Boston's. You had a pretty solid hold. You saw Philadelphia towards the end gain a little bit of momentum, but you had to think going into overtime or the extra innings that this is all Boston to lock it up.
Yeah, well, it was just Philadelphia Fusion, you know, clutching it, I'd like to say, because overall, I think that Philadelphia looked a bit shaky on this map. We talked about Fraggy, how he died and didn't really look comfortable. And I think it comes back to Philadelphia playing a bit slower and trying to make space for Carpe. You want to utilize the Winston shield, and you want to utilize D.Va's defense matrix, of course, to protect your Sombra so she doesn't take damage, and you can work with the hack, of course. But Philadelphia, they didn't really look comfortable with this passive playstyle, and as such, Boston Uprising were really close to taking the map.
I think with the changes that have happened to Sombra, you can play her as a bit more of a flanker. You can increase the tempo a little bit. Previously, if you saw this kind of composition where you got the Tracer and the Sombra, they would be playing really slow. You'd only wait for the EMP, and then that's when you would fight. Now you can see Carpe kind of step it up a little bit, goes for hacks behind. But Philadelphia, they're still getting to grips with this playstyle, I think. They will improve as the stage goes on, and they're open to trying it at the very least, which is good.
Yeah, but still, it's not like super dive like it has been before.
Yes.
Like I said, still, even if you're playing a Sombra,
right,
you're still playing passive because you want her to get the hack off. If you just go around the backline all the time, you will take damage and your entire attack is down. But if you instead go for hacks onto the tanks, with the protection from your D.Va and your own Winston with the bubble, and you coordinate with your tanks, then you can get safe hacks onto the enemy tanks and play a more passive Sombra playstyle.
Looking forward to the 2 remaining maps. How do we see this series playing out, boys? Who walks away as the victor here in their first match in Stage 3?
Ilios is going to be so fun because it's going to be Carpe versus Dream Casper, I guess, on the Widowmaker, of course, to decide the Ruin stage. But then it's Route 66, and Sombra is really good on Route 66. So I'm sticking with Philadelphia.
Philly? All right.
I think I knew that Boston were going to win the first one, and I think it came down to Blizzard World. Whoever was going to get the win on Blizzard World is probably going to take the series, because Ilios, we don't know where it's going to go, but probably over towards Boston again. So they could have locked this up 3-0, but now I think it's Philadelphia.
The flip-flop? Oh. Yep.
Was it the flip-flop? I said
He explained it much more eloquently than Bren ever could have. I thought you did a great job there, Josh, and that is going to do it for our halftime coverage. Before we go, though, we want to remind you guys what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we had Jeff Kaplan join us for a very special announcement live here in the Blizzard Arena. And for those of you who may have missed it, here's a look at Overwatch Retribution. Retribution, that's a word.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? You guys having fun? You guys are having a good time? Awesome. In case you didn't know, I am Jeff from the Overwatch team. Awesome. So, for those of you who have been following along, we've been talking about an event called Overwatch Archives. And Overwatch Archives lets you play through defining moments of Overwatch history. such as Tracer's first Overwatch mission, like Uprising, that we all played last year. Did you guys like Uprising? Okay, awesome. But there are other events, such as the one that changed Overwatch history forever.
All right, Gabriel. Start from the beginning. We arrived in the Venice safe house and set up surveillance on the manor.
We executed our plan under cover of darkness. You sure you want to hear about this, Jack?
You haven't left me much choice.
Whatever happened to plausible deniability?
A little late for that. Tell me what actually happened.
Well, Jack, that's one hell of a story. Everyone through the breach. We're getting out of here.
We need to head to the extraction point right away.
So much for keeping a low profile.
Still no sign of rescue.
Someone deal with that assassin.
Keep your distance from her. Feels like Talon is mobilizing an entire army to stop us.
What about you? Anything to add?
Where do you want me to start?
Philadelphia Fusion 1-1. And good news, everybody. I think that I might have developed a little bit of a strategy for Blizzard World. I won't divulge my strategy quite yet because I still need to go behind the scenes and talk to the players and get a little bit more intel. Oh, speaking of behind the scenes, to all you beautiful people out there watching at home on Twitch, you should really check out the All Access Pass. It's more of an enhanced viewing experience for all you guys who are watching the Overwatch League at home. You get things like the arena view and a view of the team so you can see the raw emotion on their faces as they're competing. So yeah, it's pretty much, you know, a more enhanced viewing experience, and it's available for free until May 16th. So check that out. But anyways, guys, we have a whole nother half of action. I'm feeling a bit of a 5-mapper coming. Will it be a 5-mapper? Let's find out right now and get right back into the action with our casters, Mr. X and Uber.
I reckon Malik's onto something here. Every time we see the Philadelphia Fusion on stage, in fact, even the Boston Uprising's last 3 games of Stage 2 were all 5-map affairs. So, I mean, hey, strap yourselves in. We might have quite the series to come. But Ilios is another one of those maps, Matt, that looks very good on paper for the Uprising.
Yeah, I think, also for Ilios could be pretty good for the Philadelphia Fusion. I think, adding Snillo to the lineup, instead of EQO, who's usually in, changes some things up, right? That allows Carpe to play things like the Widowmaker, doesn't have to switch off of that. You can maybe see him play some Genji again. I think you're going to see them play Sombra. I think a lot like the match that we did, the first match we did yesterday, where you saw Sombra work out quite often, and the team stuck with it all the way throughout. I think you can see that here from Philadelphia.
Plenty of opportunities for Sombra to flank around. I mean, a lot of these points, you see well in front of us, that's actually the map we're going to be seeing. Even Lighthouse. A lot of opportunity for Sombra to work her way into a backline and start to weave that hack.
Well, not to be Captain Obvious here, but also the fact of being able to be invisible and just kind of contest the point, and then when you're non-invisible to just get out and then having somebody else come in to do it, that could be beneficial as well.
I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm an analyst.
Well, I mean, to be honest, when it comes, it's reasonable though, because those extra seconds of stalling make such a huge difference. Putting a Sombra on a point, just sit her in the corner, people start spraying around, desperately trying to find her. But I mean, we're talking about the EMPs, right? That's that real hack magic. That's what we're looking for. We'll see though. Fusion with Carpe here initially hovering on the McCree. They just go for that one. McCree on well feels good in my opinion, because obviously that square area where you can test it, but the point itself is like the perfect dimensions for McCree's optimal range.
So here's where you can also get into some of the mind games, right? Boston, they probably go in the half. Man, we're getting torn up by the Sombra. You think Billy's going to run Sombra again. All right, we're going to come in with Far Mercy. We're just going to make them switch to hits again. Carpe comes out playing the McCree right away. So now as Dreamcast, like you're saying, this is a great map for McCree here on Well, because his effective range is pretty much the size of that well point area, so he can do a lot of damage.
Again, and how can Boston dive on him? Well, they have less effectiveness in their dive without the Genji. It's still fine, it's still quite good, but again, you need to sort of babysit that McCree pretty heavily, or this is going to happen to you. Gamsu just rolls him over. And a fusion, so they weren't ready for that one. Fraggy drops down the bubble, but Gamsu was just cleaning house, and Striker will assist with the finish from Fraggy.
Yeah, Boston saw a moment of opportunity there where Fraggy got low and he went back around the corner and towards the health pack on the right-hand side underneath. And when he went over towards that health pack, Boston realized that there was no main tank there for Philadelphia. Both supports had actually went with Fraggy. Yep. They jumped right on Carpe. He got separated from the rest of the team.
You may have missed that. Carpe briefly switched to Widowmaker, and he got Neko to half HP and then switched on to McCree. So he didn't want to stick on that. Reasonable, I understand that. You only get Doe. Dream Casper now is sticking fairly close to the walls. Oh, here we go. Striker's found Boombox. Oh, a little bit overshoot. Sometimes if you queue up the ability for Pulse Bomb before you do the blink, which is a common strategy, you can overshoot that one. But now, we're going to have a Valkyrie for Neptuno in over the fight here. Neko actually has one himself. Striker isn't really being attended to right now, which gives him a lot of free damage. Dream Casper's going to drop in there with the barrage is okay. He gets himself 2 kills. Boombox and Fraggy are down. He has to give his life up for it, but he got Poco's mech as well.
Yeah, there's no supports here for the Boston Uprising that are alive, though, so Philadelphia may be able to flip this point here. Nope, will use the self-destruction, trying to stay up. Poco, you'll get taken out by Striker. And when you have this Tracer still alive, just able to dart in and out of the point, maybe able to contest it some more. Carpe using the Deadeye. You see how close Philadelphia is to capping it. Now they switch it over.
Casper now really starting to clean up this fight. For just a brief moment, the Fusion had control of the point. Gamsu gets flashed but goes for the Primal Rage to Carpe. He's been here all too many times before. However, dealing enough damage to Gamsu, and with Boston having to take the point, meant the Winston had to pull back, and Carpe gets to live a little bit longer. But again, it's tough for McCree to find space here on this map when he's being dove on by, again, a very adept tank line.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, this is Dream Casper up against Carpe. Carpe, 44% of overall team damage for Philly. Dream Casper, 41 right now. Both of these players doing a lot of work. Yeah.
For a McCree as well, that's just astonishing that he's able to stay safe. We're alive long enough to do that damage.
He's also shooting, with a 63% weapon accuracy, so that helps a little bit as well.
That's remarkably good. Average is like 35 to 45. Well, Pulse Bomb, Carpe knew his jig was up. Pulse Bomb delivered. Now Poco found Neko, though, removing the Mercy from the situation, but the Fusion also lost Neptuno in that same moment. And again, we'd see Boston, the trend of being good on Ilios continues to be true. Fraggy is down. Right now, the point's being contested by Poco. Stillo's off towards one side. The chase is on now. Poco trying to keep this mech alive as long as he possibly can. But time for an oil change straight down the well. Good connection with that rocket, and Carpe getting pressured very heavily by Casper across the map as he supports his dive.
Carpe does switch over to Soldier 76, just trying to make it back to the point a little bit faster as Tuno does have Valkyrie, just trying to provide some healing here for Philadelphia. Kellix goes over to Lucio here, just trying to get back to the fight as fast as possible. Just keep everybody topped up as they speed on in. As I imagine this fight eventually going over to Boston, right? You take a quick look at some of the ultimates. They're trying to play around this Transcendence from Boombox. He gets it, uses it at the perfect time.
Transcendence, though. Can the Barrage cut this one off, man? That's the question. He gets stuck. Dream Casper shut down, but once again, he gives his life up and gets himself 2 kills. Stillo finds Neko now. The Mercy's down. Striker's trying to deal with Frankie, but he has to jump on out. He's too low on HP. One clip. Striker runs him down, and the Boston Uprising take that first round away. Long fights, map. Look close. I mean, I'm still astonished by the kill or the damage contribution of Carpe and Dream Casper, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to earth a little bit. I mean, 30s, they both finished at 36% of overall team damage. Still pretty high. But towards the end there, Philadelphia just trying to keep Boombox alive, to use the Transcendence. He gets it, hits it as fast as he can, but he's not fast enough to keep Poco alive. Poco actually gets demeched on the point. They were trying to keep that diva up.
Commanding opening here for the Boston Uprising. And, Dream Casper there as well. Like, he wasn't getting, a ton of those final blows. It weren't always coming up on the kill feed, and he had a lot. But he was really stressing the healing resources of the Philadelphia Fusion with these rockets. Even if they weren't direct hits, you could see that, constantly Carpe had to throw down a biotic field on that Soldier 76. He had to switch, so he had some sort of self-heal, because he just couldn't deal with taking all this, residual damage from the Pharaoh, but now the Widows are out. This is what we like to see. Casper opens up with the first connection, though. Carpe lucky to be alive.
Widow battle's going to be pretty fun as Carpe returns the favor there. Lands another shot on a Dreamcaster, not able to hit another body shot on the way down to finish him off as you see Dreamcaster getting the of his mercy spot. That is so filthy. Jumping across.
If you went up to the concession stand right now, you'd be missing out on so much. The Widowmaker battle is going to be... These two are both incredible at what they do on these Widowmakers. Notice that Carpe is not showing too much of himself. Even Neko can't get a peek in. Okay, Carpe. Calm your farm.
And what's awesome about a player like Carpe is he's a player that, like, when he starts to get hot and really feel it in game, it's almost like Pine, right? He starts hitting just these insane shots, and there's nothing stopping this guy. As you know, both Widowmakers right now have that infra supports on Philadelphia getting a little bit closer to their ultimates first.
It's tough sometimes to put the childlike Lee I'm experiencing watching these Widows at the back of my mind and actually focus on the game. But again, it's focused heavily around these Widowmakers and their abilities to get picks, and that's why we kind of keep them on camera a fair bit. You can see that Gamsu, he's done. He's in deep trouble now. He's not getting out of that one yet. Snillo finishes off the kill, but Casper found Boombox, so you can see that, you know, Casper focusing down the support's going to make life a little bit harder for the Fusion here. Self-destruct on point there. Poco with the nuclear explosion, trying to be the next Fallout boy. Doesn't really work out, and Casper just floats on down. Carpe.
Well, Casper's kill onto Neptuno. Neptuno uses Valkyrie, and he's able to just shoot him out of the sky. That is a huge kill, especially, you know, for the side of Boston Uprising, right? Because Neko gets picked early in that first fight. He's only 40% to Transcendence. That allows them to get that Transcendence. Now they have both support ults in the point, so it's a huge pick there from Dreamcaster.
No other stage on Ilios looks remotely like this one. This is so heavily governed by teams with strong Widowmakers and their abilities just to get those quick picks. Poco. Neptuno, who's next? There it is, the head goes rolling. Neptuno kind of getting pushed out of the way. Mid-boop, if I'm not mistaken. Note just sort of shunted him across right into Dreamcasper's crosshair. Easy as you like. He's even got the infrasight ready for the next push.
Yeah, and Fraggy gets hit as he tries to jump across too. It's an easy kill to clean up, and I think this is where teams always get stuck in a difficult spot, because you play this Widowmaker to counter the other one. When your Widowmaker's not picking up the kills, you're just kind of like standing around and waiting, right? You know, just for this Widow battle to go down. As Philadelphia really needs Carpe to come out with a big kill on the Dreamcaster here. The infrasight up, though, for Boston Uprising's Widowmaker. They're not going to be able to come out and peek him pretty easy.
But this guy is definitely in the conversation for, you know, USA World Cup.
I actually was just thinking about that as this map started out, and like, and World Cup is going to be so crazy this year. Like, some of the teams that you can put together are just insane. It's going to be so competitive to make one of those teams.
Striker fancies to drop in the Fusion, getting forced off the point so early in the fight. Casper's being focused down in the periphery, but Striker goes in with a pulse bomb. Guess what? No. Straight into Poco's back pocket. Eaten. Good shot there. Dreamcasper dealing with Fraggy. Obviously Carpe going down to Gamsu now. Resurrect over on the point. The Transcendence is going to get thrown in here. Poco trying to get a good self-destruct. I don't know if he tried to push it off the edge. I think he was happy with it where it was. Again, the Fusion in a good position to get aggressive, but they've got to get onto the point. Poco takes down Gamsu and he says, no, what is going on? It's almost as if Dreamcasper sitting in the corner was enough for the Fusion to decide, no, I don't want to go on the point. I don't want to contest. You can't make me do it.
And get this, between these two Widowmakers, nobody really gets the better of each other here. You know, both shoot over 60% scoped accuracy, both over 20% crit accuracy. Just an insane Widowmaker battle there on Ruin.
Dreamcasper, 39% of his team's damage. Carpe with 32%. Some sick players going head-to-head here, and now the Fusion have to win the next map to stay in it. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Zoe, and Boston is currently 2-1 up. But for right now, I want to give a special shout out to one of the many viewing parties, or rather watch parties, which are always happening when those games are on. And this one is a bit more specific as it's over in PAX East in Boston. There we see special shout out to the lovely lady who filmed this video for me, which was, by the way, the London Spitfire GM, Susie Kim. Undercover, I see. But yeah, it's great to see all the people getting together to watch Overwatch and support their favorite team. And this one is a big, big gathering. So if you ever want to set something up like that in your town, please go for it and send us a link to it so we can actually show it here on stage. But for now, let's head over to the next map and see if Boston can finish it out strong.
Thank you very much. So yeah, also big shout out to everyone at viewing parties. We know there's a bunch going over on in Philadelphia right now. It's a big one. So
I think I retweeted something. A couple got engaged at the one in Philadelphia. Shout out to you guys. That's awesome.
Really big right there.
2 people going crazy in the crowd. Yeah.
When are we going to get engaged?
We're not. Anyway, I already am, so that's tough for you. But anyway.
Where's your ring?
Huh?
Where's your ring? I got a spare one for you if you want.
Yeah. I'll take one of those skull rings you have there.
It's not a skull. It's a bloody lion's head. What's wrong with you?
I didn't know you were the lead singer of Him in your spare time. It's going to be Route 66 that comes up next. We saw a lot of Sombra in stage 2 on this map. I wonder if now we see it on both sides, offense and defense.
Maybe the other map.
There's always a possibility. I believe when we looked at some of the stats, this one is not a great map for the Boston Uprising.
No, it's actually good for the Fusion.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one for Philadelphia. So a chance to force a map 5.
That'll be very important here at this stage. I believe, like we saw the Fusion, in the last match of stage 2 in that title match, will really show up on this map. So we know they've got what it takes. Again, bear in mind that obviously EQO not currently eligible to play. I think that's the best way to put it. And we haven't seen Shadowburn at all, so it will be Carpe Snillo.
This is a combo that they used even when EQO was available. Snillo would come in.
That's
and
true
play
on this particular map. Oh yes, he did a fantastic job as well. He was not focused on anti-tracer play so much as just getting into those backlines.
Yeah, it was just mostly just kind of really like I wouldn't call it like defensive, more like passive, right? Going all the way into the back, just kind of like poking, being annoying, dragging people about. So.
And this is a map where we were on Watch Point the other week. If you guys don't watch that, we were looking at Philadelphia, and Monty specifically pointed out how much better Philadelphia's dive and their cohesion's become on this map. We used actually the second stage of Route 66 as an example. So look out for both these teams and how well put together their defensive dive is, because that is really how these two teams like to play on Route 66 in general.
On stage 1, they played Shadowburn on Sombra on this map and Carpe on Tracer, and then into stage 2, you had whether it was EQO or Snillo in the lineup. They really started to hit their stride in this map with Snillo in the lineup, because Carpe can then play Widowmaker, and they'd commit to that the whole time. Poco with a Sonic Arrow out of the gate just to see if anybody's playing in one of those train cars there. Just going to switch off of that one, go over to Diva. So Carpe's going to play McCree right off the bat. You play the McCree here because you probably think, Sombra's coming through one of those alleyways. We even saw on stage 2, McCree and Roadhog come out here. A lot of these heroes with CC. Going up against Dreamcasper, though, and the Widowmaker is going to be hard at this distance.
Yeah, again, I think Carpe would prefer to be on a Widowmaker if he knew he was going up against this composition. Like, he'd love to, go for the redux of the head-to-head Widow battle. But hey, he's on McCree, that's what he's going to play. Note that Striker very astutely just blinks. Oh, okay, blinks out the way. Dreamcasper doesn't have that ability available to him. He can't blink anywhere. Gonna have very dry eyes. And Carpe picks him off with a couple of headshots. And look at how much Boston have been pressured back inside that tunnel.
And look at how much progress Philadelphia has made. The payload makes it all the way around the corner by Big Earls, getting very close towards the goal here. As you did get that res off on a Dreamcasper, so everybody alive here for Boston. Everybody alive for Philadelphia, too. As I say that, completely jinx Fraggy. He goes in a little bit too deep.
Carpe just blinking away with the Peacemaker. Peacemaker a bit more war than Peace, but that's fine. We'll see. Kellex trying to get a resurrect there, being shunted around, and he is interrupted in his attempt to bring another Boston player back. And Carpe's looking confident, comfortable on this McCree, despite the threat, the pressure that Widow and Tracer can provide at both short and long range, respectively. It's working out well. The Philadelphia Fusion are off to a blistering start.
Oh, I mean, he was shooting great as McCree on Ilios. It's just a map they don't end up winning. Boston ends up taking that control map. His McCree, very good. I know Carpe, all the heroes that have like you have to have like insane aim to play, like your Widowmakers, your McCrees. Like those are the heroes he definitely excels at. As the payload just being moved by Boombox. You know, the Soul's in on the payload. We're going to Neptuno back there to move it on a little bit forward. The Insight that comes in from Dreamcast here. So Philadelphia is playing really close around those corners. Now that the Boston obviously knows that they're going to back out play from the cart.
Yeah, and this is good for Boston. I mean, they sort of expand forth, you know, behind that Insight just to make sure they're not going to get anyone picked off by not checking corners. So it's the safest way to try and set up here. It's a little bit late, to be honest, but you see they keep the payload contested. They're just on that underpass. Casper, yeah. See, Carpe probably wants to switch here pretty soon. I don't think he even wants to do Deadeye. Poco, that's what I'm talking about. Double self-destruct. Shades of stage 1 Poco there. Getting rid of Neko and Dreamcast, but the latter who's resurrected and killed by Poco again pretty much straight away. You better believe that man knows how to finish his meal.
How many mercies, though? So we usually don't talk about the mercies on offense, as, you know, Gamsu's going to use Primal Rage, keep knocking players out, but Kellex is going for that res, and Neptuno and Valkyrie is flying and just putting bullets down into him, gets him so weak, they're able to take Kellex out.
I mean, Neptuno, his mercy was from the streets.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to pull that blaster out and go for it.
But now Philadelphia, who after that fight extends for a while, they're able to keep on moving the payload. Carpe stays on McCree, has a Deadeye, can zone players out as they come out of that doorway. And maybe just buy Philly enough time to complete point B. Not even going to need it. I think it's going to be Boston giving it up. Not going to come out fight it again.
I can see that map 5 materializing right now. The Philadelphia Fusion are definitely ahead of the curve on this map. Carpe's still on the McCree, so not opting to switch off yet. Doesn't want to play Widowmaker. Snillo doing admirably on that Tracer, and Boombox there just chiming in. There might be an attempted resurrect around the corner. I see. Good use of the defense matrix to try and protect the Mercy, but Kellex still got flashed while he was trying to get the res.
Sprago used Primal Rage. He's all the way in the backline. Knew he had no support. He needed to pop that ultimate to stay up. Neptuno gets the res on a Carpe. So Philadelphia back at full strength here. As the payload rounds that first corner. It's been a weird map, Mitch. You know, Boston hasn't really been able to make any good fights happen on the payload to, like, impede any progress. These fights have just, I know, kind of been early, and then they never really materialized for that second time.
Beautiful. Good stick, force the Transcendence out. Everything going to plan right now for the Philadelphia Fusion. Snillo's job is done. Carpe does get pulse bombed here, and just as he pops out of Transcendence, now you can see Neko gets pressured down a little bit. Boombox responds with his own trans, given that the Fusion were already a player down when that happened, they weren't actually able to use that to get aggressive behind. Maybe not what he wanted, maybe not the situation he'd hoped to use it in, but look, Fraggy straight back to the payload here. It's like a dog after a bone. Relentless.
Well, they do kill Neko there towards the end, and now they're at full strength, so you have, you know, a small window where you're going to be up one player. Kellex does fall, you lose that Mercy, that's used. Neptuno's going to use his Valkyrie. There's the Deadeye that comes in from Dreamcast. We're just trying to keep them at bay.
Snillo keeping a respectful distance from the Winston who can lick him. See with that Tesla cannon. Casper, yeah, bit of a party crashing there as Gamsu just, you know, takes a brief hello and threatens Carpe. Pulse Bomb though doesn't find it, but Striker gets the job done anyway. Not too disappointed that that ultimate didn't quite work out. Payload is stationary right now as the Fusion are dealing with all these players in their backlines, and Casper, put that one in your pocket! We'll see you on the respawn. Neptuno going down to Note. Snillo realizes, yeah, he's done. Note there does well. Posthumously, or at least getting taken out of the mech, gets a good self-destruct.
Yeah, there's nothing that Philadelphia could do at that point. Had the, you know, Boston, if you would have kept that fight going and, like, actually pushed in yet again, Boston would have had both support ultimates. You probably would have had Transcendence for Philly, but Neptuno had fallen, so you would have had no chance of getting Valkyrie. You're even building it up there, so you're pretty much, investing in Transcendence to lose a fight. Maybe you get Boston to use some of their ults, but they probably wouldn't have even have needed it.
Try and get something, you know, for what you've already invested in the fight. So Dreamcast was close to a Deadeye. Carpe already has his. I don't think we'll get the, you know, the classic standoff situation. Although 2 Tumbleweed on the map would be pretty funny. Neko. Oh, that's dangerous positioning! But Snillo goes down to Casper, so both McCree strike blood here early on in the fight. The Boston Uprising get to erase that little mishap by resurrecting Neko. Snillo's also been brought back now. It's going to be Boombox using the Transcendence in over the point. They're going to drop down Deadeye from Carpe to try and use the protective aura of healing to get some kills. Won't find it. Good flash. Striker! Head gets blown clean off. Now the Tracer's missing for the Boston Uprising, and there's another one ahead to rolling, and Carpe is the one that's setting them flying. Snillo gets on towards Kellex now, dropped it down onto the point, the flash on towards Gamsu. Self-destruct, they can see it. Payload is cleared, but Poco sticks around. He goes for a self-destruct, good positioning. That'll hit anyone coming out of spawn. No one is affected by it though. Now Note back onto the point, gonna get desuited, and Kellex will soon rejoin the fight. Lucio's there. Again, can't do too much. Payload getting ever closer now, 1 by 1. Boston have to try and stall out and get some picks, get some 1-for-1 trades at the very least, but Gamsu just gets robbed as he attempts to try and slow this one down. Striker forced into a recall, and that's a good flanking Deadeye from Carpe. That would have shut things down.
He got Striker at the end of the round anyway.
But Carpe on the McCree, man, just absolutely going crazy. Let's listen to Philadelphia take point A.
Middle left side still. Go. Tracer bien. Tracer one. Mercy. Diva one. Going back. Focus Diva. Diva one. I'm trying to have time. Diva no mic. Monkey one. Liam point. Need healing behind. Dead. Tracer behind probably. Mercy one. Mercy one. On the wall. Mercy one. Good.
Focusing tanks down first seemed to be the plan. You see that they called out, so Gamsu and Note both very low. Similarly, just scooting on past, getting the D-suit. Quite structured there. These guys really, definitely, you can see that chemistry they built up over the last couple of stages. Starting to come to the fore, and they have a minute and 12 left in the time bank, sort of after that first push. They did get waylaid a little bit over on towards that last stage. We did see the McCree of Dreamcasper start to come out there as well. Striker actually had a little bit of an easier time getting those flanking positions done, and Diffusion had to double back a lot of the time to do some peeling, but still having time in the bank at all on this map is...
Yeah, I think you saw both teams put to pretty good use the Mercy plus McCree combo. You know, it's interesting, we didn't really see a lot of McCree throughout Overwatch League thus far. Maybe we see a return of him here, you know, a little bit in Stage 3. But you saw, you know, the damage boost that you can put onto, you know, Carpe playing that hero. He's able to do so much damage there towards the end. And you know, McCree, it's a lot like where Widowmaker, right? Widowmaker, just the one-shot kills at much longer range. McCree, though, in that medium range, can really start to dominate some of these games.
He's very, very quickly as well. He's able to, you know, cut the numbers down on opposition teams very quickly. We saw a moment there with Carpe getting 2 headshots over 2 shots, and then all of a sudden you got 2-man advantage sort of being created. I wonder, you know, it's like, yes, teams that bring McCree's in sort of don't want to get dived, and McCree can sort of get pressured pretty hard, but on a more open map like this on that second stage, it seemed like the Philadelphia Fusion kind of wanted Boston to do the traditional, you know, trademark dive, and then they'd sort of just punish them for that.
The issue I find with McCree is that if you don't create enough space for McCree, he's such an easy dive target, right?
Okay.
So you need to have, it's really on the tanks there, right? Like, there were a few times where we saw Fraggy, like, he'd dive in deep. I know maybe he would get taken out first, but he's really just trying to provide Carpe that space to get into that medium range. It's not like Widowmaker where you can sit back, right? And then hits one shot, get somebody weak, then the dive happens.
Like you have space by default because you sit so far back.
Exactly. So you have to create that space somehow to force those medium range engagements. How does that happen with the tanks?
If you want to know more about dive as well, check the OverwatchLeague.com website. Sideshow put up a great article just explaining and breaking down dive and how it works, the Genty Tracer dive specifically, which is something both these two teams specialize in. Dreamcasper getting accosted early on in the round. The Fusion go deep to try and find an early pick on the Widowmaker. Doesn't work out for them. The peel is good as the Uprising form a tortoise formation around this man on screen.
See if Carpe and Snillo combined, you know, if the Tracer Sombra can put enough pressure onto Dreamcasper to really force him out of positions. And the thing you miss when you don't have like a, let's say, for argument's sake, like a Genji or a Widowmaker of your own, is that when Widow uses the grapple to get to the high ground, Sombra and Tracer can't exactly chase her up there. So you're really reliant on Poco to just kind of follow around, keep dibs on Dreamcasper.
And now Striker will be waiting for someone to present themselves. Quite often, like, the Fusion will know there should be Boston Uprising players waiting here, but they can't do much about that stick. Now Striker, all he needed was a little bit of extra damage. Good response by Fraggy, by the way, to jump back to the rest of his team. You need an extra 100 damage to kill the Winston, 100 or so because of the armor. So if it's just a pulse bomb, he can survive it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Carpe not really going in and putting pressure on the Dreamcasper. He's sitting back with his supports and tanks because what I think he's trying to do is, as the tanks from Boston come on in, get a hack onto Note, get a hack on Nagamsu, force them to stay there and take so much damage. It doesn't really matter though. Boston will be able to take point A pretty quickly. And I know, taking a look at some of the stats, 3 enemies hacked for Carpe there at the beginning of this. So you didn't get those 3 hacks off. You didn't get much out of it though.
Dreamcasper had a very quiet first half on this Widowmaker and McCree. Now he's really starting to hit some shots. Again, sometimes it's kind of convenient when defenders sort of dive at you and you can set up properly. Look at this, under pressure. Still finds 2 massive picks on the point. And obviously Carpe, they're going invisible and getting away. But look at him, leading the charge right now. A lot of damage coming from this man. Oh, he's gonna get knocked for 6. It's a cricket term for you.
and Fraggy's knocking them back here to put them into position in the underpass for the EMP to come through. That's a huge EMP, connects with 4 members, so that is set up there by Fraggy, using the Primal Rage, knocking those players back right under the underpass where the payload is. That puts them in a great position for the EMP to come down.
And what a critical juncture now as defenders to stop those attackers. Now the Boston Uprising have to filter in through fairly narrow apertures to try and access the payload. And if you can use those chokes to your advantage, it's good. But look, Boombox is already down. So Dream Casper just kind of floating around like a butterfly and stinging like the Widowmaker. You can get in there. Now with the Transcendence, the Boston Uprising peel back on themselves just to sort of shut down the dive of the Fusion. It looks like that's going to work well. There's a Pulse Bomber Striker needs it, but it's unlikely that'll be the case.
Well, that pick is huge because now it's going to give Boston an advantage in the next fight. They'll have Valkyrie going up against no support ults here. Neptuno will make a change from Lucio over to Mercy here as Carpe will switch to Widowmaker. So you were kind of looking at those 2 players hand in hand, right? If Neptuno's going to play Mercy, don't really get much value out of, a Mercy Tracer Sombra combination, like not the best, right? I mean, if your Sombra goes invisible, don't want to be like giving her away with the healing beam. So you're gonna have a Widowmaker battle yet again.
I'm down, Matt. I'm down for that.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see what Carpe tries to use for sightlines, because right now there's only one way that Carpe could go in order to interact with Dream Casper. Snillo never had a chance. And you can see the Carpe drop down there. Will he repel up? Yeah, he's trying to find this shot. Dealing with Dream Casper is the first step here. He has been untouched pretty much in this round thus far, except for that one successful dive set up by the Fusion. And look at this. Look at all the space he's got to work with. Oh, there's Carpe, though. That was the one angle he could have found that would have safely given him the shot, and he found it. Snillo now returns to the fray. Nope was thinking there were people coming from the top side, but no. Now try and work down Fraggy here. Very easy to get this damage in. Gonna buy some extra time, though, is the Winston from the Philadelphia Fusion. Looking to get Kellex, and Snillo finishes the kill. This might turn now in the favor of the Fusion. They got the numbers here. Carpe threatened down, though. The Orb of Discord really helping out. Neko has a Transcendence, so that Zenyatta can have a huge part to play in this next fight.
Yeah, and I think what Philadelphia was going to go for there, Mitch, is Neptuno is getting very close to Valkyrie. If Fraggy, they're in a position where Fraggy pops Primal Rage, and they get split off, where Striker actually gets into the backline on a Neptuno. If Neptuno is able to get all of that healing onto that Primal Rage Winston, he's able to get Valkyrie, go up in the sky. Boombox comes in with a Transcendence, and maybe you stay in that one.
Snillo ducks into the shield, gets domed by Neko, and Striker's able to finish off the kill. Did return to the fight later on, and did pick off Kellex. Staying power, though, is very important for a Tracer. And there it is, both Zens dealing out some damage to the opposition Tracers, just like that. Snillo avoiding Neko's fusillade there. He has Transcendence, so let's keep an eye on that one. It's going to be a rough dive for the Fusion. They want to try and force that out. But Snillo takes care of Neko, and now they can start the fight. They know Neko's got that Transcendence.
This is where you could have made an argument where you missed some of the hero pool that EQO or Shadowburn have, right? Yep. Where they can come in and play a Genji and just harass a Widowmaker in that back line. But see Carpe, though, playing the Widowmaker here as he's trying to go around for off angle here, trying to line some of these shots up as the Transcendence comes out from Philadelphia, and now it comes out from Boston.
Carpe looking a little bit overstimulated right now. Not quite hitting that 60% accuracy he had on Ilios. It's about 40%. Dream Casper 48%.
He does have, on the defensive end though, you do have some really poor angles that you have to be the one coming around that corner.
Put yourself at risk in order to get the shot.
You put yourself in a risky position every time you're going to take one of these shots.
Well, this is good for the Boston Uprising here. Things are looking up. Getting quite close to the end of the map, but the Transcendence was finally drawn out of Neko in that previous fight. Boombox, though, doesn't have his either. Snillo's Pulse Bomb, Fraggy's Primal Rage. These are things that the Fusion will need to be banking on here. That's a big hit on the Boombox. Dream Casper just found the edge of his hitbox. But that's Gamsu down to a Pulse Bomb from Snillo, when it should really open things up. Casper might be able to turn this fight around. Fraggy needs to jump on the Widowmaker now, but Casper's not having none of it. Boombox takes him down. Salvo of orbs across the map to deal with a very frustrating sniper presence that Boston will bring into bear.
And Boston had a ton of information going into that fight because Dream Casper was able to see Carpe go up to that high ground. He also gets that little bit of glow off of the Mercy beam, so he knows Mercy's up there, and he knows that Boombox is up there. So you know 3 players are up there. Most likely, if those 3 are on that side, the Tracer is coming at you from the left, so you have a really good idea of where a lot of those players are. They're not able to put together a push, though, as he'll switch over to McCree. So here towards the later stage of the map, where you're in that medium distance, we're going to see McCree come out again.
Striker keeping a respectful distance once again until he finds the backline. Carpe avoids the Pulse Bomb dropped in, though, and Striker won't have much for it. The payload's moving this whole time, though. The Fusion kind of being distracted by the play on the left-hand side of the map. Now finally returned and realized that the payload was getting a little bit too close for comfort. This is going to be very, very close in terms of time bank now. Neko loses about 3 seconds of good use on that Transcendence, and Casper goes down to Carpe. 3 for Carpe, what is this? He's had such a rough half so far, and he finally wakes up. Huge response, he even gets a decent on note. That's rough.
Well, it's a lot like what I said with Philadelphia and creating space for your McCree. If you don't give them the space to get close into that Widowmaker, a Widowmaker like Carpe is just going to tear through any McCree any day. As see how they decide to play this towards the end. Boston, you're going to stay on the McCree here as you're getting close to the Deadeye, potentially, zone some of these players out. Both support ults here for Philadelphia, though nothing for Boston. Such a big advantage for Philly.
Carpe just put the Fusion now in a winning position. Perfect play. Now he sits back, Casper getting pressured hard. It's just a little bit of extra damage. It was required. Stillo was supposed to go in and get out, get rid of the McCree and be done with it, but he was caught on the way through. Gamsu found him. However, he goes down and is resurrected back into the fight, so Gamsu now's back on his feet. Casper wants to try and threaten, but Poco dies on top of him. Carpe was the one with the early damage to put him down to half. Kellex gets left upon by Fraggy, and this is looking very good for the Fusion right now. Poco challenging out of the payload, and Fraggy's there. Belts Neko into next Tuesday. Notes down. No chance for Striker to get close. Map 5, you say? Okay. You'll have it.
Carpe finishes with more final blows than Dreamcaster and Striker combined in that map. It's a phenomenal map playing primarily McCree and Widowmaker. I know the McCree on offense, very effective. The tanks gave him enough space to make it work. The Widowmaker switch on to defense definitely paid off as well.
Fun fact, in the last 3 games for both of these teams, they've all been 5 maps. So this is the 7th now, or the 4th in a row for both of these. Let's get some more of that map 5 action. We'll see you in just a second. This is the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel, the official computer processor of the Overwatch League.
There are very few teams in this league more used to going all the way to that 5th map tiebreaker than the Boston Uprising and the Philadelphia Fusion. Guess what? We got it again. Map 5, Oasis, Matt, is our tiebreaker map for this stage.
Yeah, we haven't seen this map in a while. It's been, what, a full stage? We saw it in stage 1. I know potentially. I think, well, this is a good Pharah map. So I think, I believe we do have a sub for Philadelphia. It'll be Shadowburn that'll come in.
Surprise.
Snillo here, surprise.
But it's interesting, to be fair.
So I mean, they can do a lot of things here. You can have Shadowburn play Zarya if you want to play triple tank compositions. You can play him on Junkrat. You can play Pharah here. We see some good Pharah.
You can do it on some of these Oasis maps.
And maybe you want to. Yeah, you can do Sombra if you really want to. We've seen him play Sombra in the past, but I think you probably want him for the Pharah because you saw Dreamcasper do really nice things with the Pharah for Boston. So you put another Pharah up in the sky, you just keep them honest with each other, right? Shooting rockets back and forth, and then you have Carpe play.
So you keep them honest. Oh, I'm shooting you. I'm shooting you.
I'm shooting you. Oh,
I'm noticing you.
Yeah.
And noticing me, noticing you. I'm putting you on notice that we're going to notice each other shooting rockets.
And then you just have a Carpe striker 1v1 down on the ground in Tracer. So that's probably what we'll see. Interesting thing is we haven't seen Carpe play Tracer at all during this series. It's been Snillo up until this point. So this is the first time you're going to see him play the Tracer.
Yeah, that is a good point. His Widowmaker's been exceptionally good. I mean, if there's any series when you need your Widowmaker to step up, it is this one. But there it is. Alternate blue and orange. Blizzard World and Route 66 for the Fusion. So, unsurprisingly, the Uprising win both of the maps that their records are good on. They continue to extend very strong winning records on Volskaya and Ilios. Route 66 was the map where Philadelphia Fusion took, it almost all the way, of course, in that stage 2 playoff match. Back to Oasis, though. I've been thirsty.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Boston Uprising coaching staff, during the halftime just reminded them, their previous stages, where their shortcomings have been. It's been early in those stages. The late time in those stages, they've turned it around. But like, guys, look, it may be the first game of the season, but the first 2 weeks really decide whether we're in the playoffs or not last stage. If they have a good first 2 weeks of stage 2, they are probably in our final day. I mean, they were that good towards the end. So I think you really got to hammer down some of these guys. Like, look, we win this match. Like, we have a very good shot the rest of the way.
Being aware of your shortcomings is very important. As long as, it's not sort of thrown in your face every time, kind of like if I try and give you a high five. But, it's good to know how to work around the weaknesses, and we saw it from the Fusion, right? We saw this development over the course of the last couple of stages. They tempered that aggressiveness, got Fraggy in positions to really do work. Poker now doesn't have to save team fights with like 4-man self-destructs.
And I love what Philadelphia is doing with this roster, just the overall roster that they have, right? A full 12-player roster. You have some really good players on this team, and slowly you see everybody getting integrated, everybody finding their role as Shadowburn comes in here to play the Pharah in Game 5.
No surprises there. It will be the Dreamcasper Shadowburn face-off. Man, we've had everything, right? We had the Carpe Dreamcasper Widow battle, we had the Trace going nuts. And yeah, Gamsu's probably regretting the fact that it's going to be a Pharah here. Good first hit from Shadowburn, but he and Casper are going to be trading blows a lot. The question is, what is your priority going to be as the Pharah? Are you trying to deal with the enemy Pharah? Are you trying to blow out the people on the ground? And the balance you strike between those two will decide who has more of an impact over the round in general.
Well, there's two different theories, right? You ignore the enemy Pharah, you put down damage on the ground, your Tracer finishes the kills off like that. Or you just kind of pester the enemy Pharah, right? Just getting these sky battles, and you may not even kill the other Pharah, but just not allowing her to just put free damage down on the ground does a lot.
See, Casper's doing more work right now. 2 kills, at least he's finished them off. Poco heads for the kills, or for the waves as it were, in Shadowburn. Yeah, he's done. Direct hit. Dream Casper. Strong statement made early on in this round here, and you can see that, both he and Shadowburn have a lot of their team's damage, but finishing kills is very important.
And it's when you play Pharah, right? It's almost like you don't really worry about that head-to-head Pharah matchup unless the other Pharah gets really close or she hits you with one from a distance. Because then you're worried about everything. You're worried about bullets from Diva, bullets from Tracer on the ground if you get a little too low. So I think that's what Dreamcaster's kind of feeling right now, right? Until Shadowburn really starts to hit some of these rockets onto him, he's not going to worry about it.
Good sound barrier there from Kellex. Everyone from Boston are benefiting from it. And as a result, Philadelphia kind of have to just step off the point once again. They realize they can't deal with that overshield, need to wait for it to expire. But by the time it does so, the Fusion are down a player here. Shadowburn's missing. Casper's got on him again. He's definitely coming out on top of those matches, and Boombox thought about going for a resurrect, but Striker was there to keep him honest. Not bringing him back. It's not stage 1 anymore, my friend.
And we talk about how difficult it is to come in later in these series and play a hero like a Widowmaker, let's say, but Pharah very difficult as well, right? Those projectiles at long range, getting used to game speed, right?
I mean, warming up is tough. No one gives Shadowburn a great jumpsuit and a marching band to get back on the stage, does he? He's got to come in cold. Yeah, and a lot of expectation on the man. Okay, a man who's delivered some of the most finest moments in, in Overwatch history. This guy's been incredible. That's a big direct hit, though. Casper only needs one more, but Shadowburn really starts to fire back well. You can see, yeah, even Gamsey wants to get involved in the fight. Shadowburn, good sound barrier timing. It keeps him alive through the barrage. Oh, it's beautiful. The margins are so slim between these two top players, but Shadowburn comes out on top, gets Neko and Casper, and that is going to be Philadelphia getting back in control. Not a moment too soon, might I add.
And that sound barrier has to be perfect there from
So good,
Neptuno,
man.
or else that play doesn't even happen, right? Most likely Dreamcaster lives all the way through that. Who knows what happens after that? It's a sound barrier that connects with everybody of the Philadelphia Fusion, including Shadowburn up in the sky. Neptuno just continues to impress on any of the supports that he picks out.
Both Lucio players have 6 sound barriers delivered, so that's obviously everyone. Really, really nicely done. And now we'll see Philadelphia kind of have to dig in for a longer period of time here. Neko has a Valkyrie. See if they pop that and get aggressive behind it, or try and force out Boombox's Valkyrie. It's maybe less critical to do that. Carpe low. Striker, though, gets out of the fight. So now Carpe can worry about these tanks. Give a pulse bomb here to get the finish. Yeah, he goes for that one. But on the shield, doesn't really quite finish off the kill. Gamsu does go to the pulse pistols in the end anyway. So Poco self-destructing on the ground. Looks like, yeah, Kellex has been discovered. Neko as well. Sound barrier being used here by the Boston Uprising to try and keep them in this one. Boombox has a Valkyrie of his own, though. And we see Fraggy now free to drop right in. You can see he's the one being pocketed right now. They're putting a lot of emphasis behind Fraggy being the tip of this spear and keeping him nice and healthy. And Shadowburn can just do the damage while Fraggy opens up the space.
Shadowburn's going to use the Rocket Barrage. Doesn't get anything with it while he's using it. 2 of his teammates do fall as well. It's going to be Dreamcaster up in the sky with his Rocket Barrage. Let's see when he decides to use it. He actually lands a shot into Shadowburn off screen. There's the Rocket Barrage from Dreamcasper. Takes out Shadowburn in Neptuno as Boston trying to flip the point back. They're already at 99%, so could be it.
Chaotic fight now. Where are the fusion going to come from? Poco will get there. Boombox also. And now we can sort of sit behind Poco. Strike has tried to go in here and finish off the Mercy. But Boombox is staying alive for the time being. So they're keeping this overtime ticking down. Poco getting dropped in on. Desuited. Taken down. Casper forced to back up. Shadowburn's out there and Carpe's low on health. You can see who Casper wants to kill. Pretty obvious, isn't it? One more direct rocket hit will have him. Gets up close and personal. Maybe it isn't personal. Either way, it's a kill for Casper and he gets the second. That's Boston Uprising. Picture perfect Farah play paves their way to a first round lead.
Yeah, it's just Dreamcaster puts down a little bit more damage than Shadowburn, and it's interesting, Shadowburn putting down 25% of team damage, Carpe 35%. Carpe gets all of those final blows. So 6 final blows here for Carpe. It's kind of the opposite, right? Where Striker finishes with 26, Dreamcaster with 29. Dreamcaster is actually the one who's finishing off a lot of those kills, though. It's going to be 8 final blows for Dreamcaster.
I'm going to say Note's kill participation as well has been double that of Poco's in this round. He's been very, very active around these fights. I mean, the D.Va fight here is kind of hard to follow because we're watching that round, right? We're mostly watching the players' perspectives themselves. And you sort of just see the 2 mechs buzzing around up in the air. But Note comes out with a good chunk of damage in those 2 final blows.
Yeah, I mean, out of the 18, overall kills that went down for the Boston Uprising, Note took part in 12 of them. So that is a huge impact that he's making there.
Okay, I'm on board with Kellex here. Again, note that he can't really join his team up there if he doesn't want to. He's here to watch the flank and keep, tabs on Carpe. Striker as well, trying to do the same. And now that he's forced that recall, Striker calls that out because now, your backline knows that, well, we're not going to get jumped on by a Trace without a recall. It's just not going to happen. So that's going to buy time for Boston. They can be more confident in their positioning.
Man, this far battle is so difficult for Shadowburn to be thrown into at the end of the game, especially with somebody as good as Dreamcasper. You see, Boston, they have control over this center pillar, so to speak here, and it's going to allow Dreamcasper to just get high up in the sky. And look, he can just use this as cover, right? Dart down, dart back up. It's going to be Valkyrie bringing out from both teams here early on, and beautiful rocket there right onto Fraggy.
Oh, good sound barrier there. Neptuno used that to cover Boombox's Resurrect on Fraggy because he figured that, Casper would love to shoot down a stationary Mercy. Great comment. I mean, Neptuno's so good at doing that, to use his ultimate kind of aggressively, or to sort of support, you know, his Mercy or a Pharah ulting. Love to see it. Casper, though, has a barrage here. We'll see what kind of backup he gets when it's time for him to go in and sort of break out the big guns. Because Shadowburn goes down to Note. This is what we've been saying. Note's been so active, aggressive over these fights, securing kills or setting them up. And Casper now doesn't have to ult this one. He can try and catch Boombox from afar, force the Mercy out of position.
Yeah, Boston does get control of the point. Craggy uses Primal Rage as well, because, you know, Philadelphia is trying to make this a little bit of a fight at the beginning, but once it goes over to the Boston Uprising, nothing they can really do. And, you know, I wanted to let this first fight go on to see if it's still true, but you know, right now, Carpe and Shadowburn had all of the final blows for the Philadelphia Fusion.
All of them.
Yeah, nobody else with the final blow. Everybody with final blows on the side of Boston. You just need to see a little bit more, you know, involvement in some of these kills from the other guy.
How odd is that when you've got Neptuno on your team? Even he doesn't have any final
right.
blows. We'll keep an eye on it. I mean, Kellex is actually quite an aggressive Lucio player as well, in all fairness. These European Lucios, man. Mess with them. Striker on that recall. That's the barrage indoors. Kellex caught out by that one. Shadowburn not going down. He was able to survive the use of the ultimate that suspends him in midair. Normally press Q to respawn, but in this case, press Q to get yourself a free Lucio. And now Striker's thinking about his next pulse bomb target. Does see Poco fly above in midair. Knows that his opponent's pulse bomb's already been used. Where do you go with this? Casper's down there to a boot from Neptuno. That's the final blow we were waiting for, and that's the pulse bomb on Poco.
Yeah, but this point is so easy for Boston to just kind of hide and contest that Neko doesn't have to use his Valkyrie until now. So far after Boombox had used his Valkyrie, and they ended up using their sound barrier here as well. Boston just kind of, you know, waits behind that center pillar, and they're just like, okay, when are you coming in? Like, you can't just kind of poke and poke and poke on this point, as Boston will still hold on through all of those ultimates used by Philadelphia.
Philadelphia Fusion will be frustrated if it's their control map performance that really lets them down in this series, because that's always going to be your tiebreaker map. Obviously, on Ilios, it wasn't pretty. Very good performance by Boston Uprising. When you got to play like Dream Casper, who literally does it all, it's super hard to, you know, try and fabricate a way to match that, or at least try and, you know, give yourself a shadow of a copy of it. Let's see what his barrage brings, though, or if he goes for it. He takes it directly from Shadowburn, but he gives one back in response. Boombox is down now. Casper, oh yeah, he can smell blood in the water. He's coming for more. Trying to track Neptuno's movements is very hard, given the Guardian Angel is like a 1 second cooldown, so you really need to pick that very carefully. Fraggy finds Gamsu just before Gamsu goes to play in traffic. Casper's actually being pressured back. Getting too close to a wall or the ground is instant death as Pharah. You either take AoE damage from a rocket or a Tracer picks you off. So now the Fusion have to play as it's just Note and Striker that are on the point. It's actually a 2v2. Kellex is joining now, so there's still a good chance for Boston to take this one away. Striker finds Carpe, that could be the opening, but Shadowburn returns with barrage in tow. The Uprising are keeping this one going, though.
Yeah, Kellex does have sound barrier, so both teams just contesting right now.
I love this setup, this disengage.
Yeah, well, you're just going to wait until you get everybody. Then you're going to use that sound barrier and push on through. Everybody gets benefits of it for the Boston Uprising. Philly can't back out too far because they have to stay on the point.
Nasty! Oh, I just saw it happen in front of me! Dream Casper just removed Shadowburn from the game. He can't even log on anymore, Matt. That's how bad it is. Poker gets desuited, he'll go down. Dream Casper. You know he had to do it to him. Neptuno tries to get back to the point, but tell you what, take a bow. Jonathan Sanchez, you're a monster.
Yeah, it's going to be 16 limbs, 12 final blows for Dreamcaster, 22 limbs, 14 final blows from Striker here towards the end. But man, just a lot of damage being put by Dreamcaster down in the sky on Pharah. You know, it's so difficult. You bring in a Pharah of your own. What do you do? If it doesn't work, then you got to switch so many things. Philadelphia just didn't have an answer for his Pharah on either of the control maps.
Really cool, calm and collected play from Dream Casper there. I mean, it's such a curious matchup because Neko, Kellex, Neptuno, even Boombox as well, very good Mercy players. So that duo, the Pharah Mercy, is always going to be scary. Shadowburn is incredibly good at that one as well. But to start things off here, our stage 2 second place team in the Philadelphia Fusion goes down to the Boston Uprising. A clash of titans, a clash of very similar play styles. There's so much to unpack about this one. And to do that, we're going to head to the desk. We'll catch you later.
Thank you so much, Uber. Nice job, Mr. X, as well. And great job to Boston. I know there's a lot of people celebrating the Uprising victory tonight out there at PAX. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett at the desk. We got Sideshow. We've got Reinforce and 3 games to burn through here. So let's get right into it. Game number 3, Control coming up. We see a good one once again. Sideshow, what were we seeing from the Philadelphia Fusion? Because it was Boston who takes the lead.
It really was. I think they tried a bit of a slower composition, and they seem to struggle quite a bit on control. You wouldn't really expect it from Philadelphia Fusion because they have so much individual talent, but for some reason they can't piece it together when it gets to the control maps.
I think they wanted to play a lot of hit scan this series, and we'll see later on Route 66 as well, because they wanted to shut down Striker. They identified him on the Tracer as a big threat and a big component of this Boston Uprising squad, but instead that just gave so much room to Dream Casper on the Widowmaker, on the Pharah as well, and so you sort of put all your emphasis onto Striker, shut him down with the McCree onto a Tracer, of course, the counter. But then Dream Casper just popped off.
I might give you a slightly more simplistic reason why they played a lot of hit scan as well. It's because EQO's out of the lineup, right? They don't have this Stark entry player that they would normally play around. Carpe's good, but he's not really at that kind of level, and you don't want to have to sub Shadowburn in and not be able to go to the hit scan. So I think this was also part of the reason why we saw this come up so often for Philly.
That suspension coming back to burn them there in Game 3, but Philly, they hold strong. They're able to battle back in Route 66. We saw Carpe running the McCree a little bit on this map. You saw Dream Casper getting shut down at the start, and Philly was able to push this payload further.
And here's my counter-argument, Josh. Why would you run a McCree into a Widowmaker unless you're trying to shut down the Tracer?
Because you can kill him from long range, like you saw at the beginning. He's just dinking him across the...
Put Bren on the desk. Help! Help!
I agree with you. They are playing kind of different styles to what we've seen them play previously. They brought out the Sombra here as well, so they're experimenting for sure. And I think Route 66 a great map for them, but over the course of the entire series, you got to say, this was not Philadelphia Fusion's day in terms of the map pool that they were going up.
No, and even, I'd say the play itself, we saw the Sombra come out, and I think they tried to adjust to the new Sombra play, but even then, it didn't really work out as I expected. I think they still have a few things that need to work out, so this wasn't Philly in their full form.
It wasn't their full form, but it was good enough to get to a Game 5. And I know you wanted to highlight Carpe. What do we got here, Johnny? I was told by our replay, he's like, Johnny's got some special clips. Carpe always impressing here on the main stage.
Yeah, Carpe is always impressing, of course. We can go ahead and roll those clips, of course. And it's just going to be Carpe. I thought he was going to be the deciding factor this game, and look at him go with the Widowmaker. This just shuts down. He got so many picks. And at the desk, I just told Josh, like, okay, it's happening. Yep, here comes Carpe.
Yeah, because they've only got 30 seconds left. It looked like Boston Uprising were going to be able to take it and go into a time bank round. And instead, it's like it's Carpe doing Carpe.
Shut it down.
Yep.
But this is what you get when you have one of the best, if not the best player in the league in your team.
If not the best player, you said it backstage. Can I get you to do it on camera? Is Carpe the best player in Overwatch right now?
Well, he's looking better than Birdring, so I'd say, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, better than Birdring.
Well,
Birdring's still number 2. We're going to keep it rolling.
Carpe is the best player in the league.
That's more confident. Thank you, Sassy Johnny. The Swedes getting angry because Philly didn't win Game 5. Here's why they didn't.
Yeah. Here's why they didn't. And it was Dream Casper. He's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it is not a stretch to say, I think, that he is up there with Fleder as the best Pharah in the league. The best individual Pharah. Because even though we wouldn't classically think of him as one of the best Pharahs, he just dominates everybody that we normally think of as great Pharahs.
And he's been doing it since stage 1, it feels like.
Yeah, he goes up against Shadowburn, he goes up against guys like Hydration, and he pulls out ridiculous clutch performances all the time. And it's just, it powers them through maps like Oasis, basically off his back. And then they got Striker on the ground. How do you beat that?
Yeah, but I want to give some credit to all of Boston, because Note, I think they focused the tanks of Philly very well, and Note had almost double the damage of Poco on Eva, so it just tells you how much damage the rest of Boston did as well. So it's a team effort, right?
Right, but of course we have to focus on the stars, which is what we're going to do right now. It's time for your player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. DPS wins again. This time around, had to give it to Dream Casper. He played every hero you could think of, and he made them all look good.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can put it. When it came down to Volskaya, yeah, again, it's a team effort. They're very coordinated when it comes to the assault maps. But Dream gives them these kind of star performances that you would have never expected when this guy first came into the league. He had no kind of experience at this level, and he has dived in and excelled beyond.
But he's one of these very ruthless players, right? We look at, I like a tank like Super, who just turned 18 for the San Francisco, because he's so ruthless and not scared at all. and just goes ham, right? That's Dream Casper for me. He doesn't care. He just moves forward and just clicks ads. That's all I need to do.
Doing work on Far to close out Game 5, one of his star performances. Also, amazing Widow plays throughout this series. This was a great one. We knew it would be good. 2 squads in the top 6, and after it's all said and done, we got to update the overall standings. Where is Philly at right now? Well, they're still in the hunt for the top 3, but Boston has jumped them on the leaderboard. Boston moving up into that number 4 spot, giving them a little bit of wiggle room with the Valiant chasing everybody at 7.
Yeah, and even map differential being the key difference here. So you gotta remember to always win those crucial maps. It counts towards the end.
Huge matchup win here for Boston as we take a look at Stage 3. Remember, each team will play 10 matches. The top 4 at the end of Stage 3 will be duking it out for $125,000. And you're going to see Boston in the top 5. The 2 squads we haven't seen yet, London and the Outlaws, both at 0-0. When we come back from the break, though, we find out who is going to be in the top 6, who is in the bottom 6 for Stage 3. One more match to go. It's London versus Houston after this.